Chapter 2164. Hearing Shi Shuiyun's explanation, Mu Zhenghao stared at Shi Shuiyun coldly, as if he didn't believe Shi Shuiyun's words. You're saying that they're just fighting here, and the real battle isn't going to end here? Mu Zhenghao said coldly. Yes, that's the general situation. I don't know the rest, Shi Shuiyun said. You can't count on that. According to my investigation, this is the only place in this area with traces of fighting. There are no traces of fighting in other areas. It's very likely that this place was the final battlefield. Mu Zhenghao said coldly, if you want to prove that there's no problem, search my soul. Don't worry, I won't affect your foundation. If it does, the Mu family will compensate you. Mu Zhenghao took a step forward, intending to search Shi Shuiyun's soul. Any kind of explanation would be useless to him. Only by searching her soul and searching her memories would he be able to find out the truth. Mu Zhenghao took a step forward, and the Ghana tribe's leader stopped him. He said in a stern voice, What do you want to do? What do I want to do? Didn't I just say that I want to search your soul? Mu Zhenghao said calmly, If you want me to trust you, you can only search my soul. What? Do you want to stop me from searching your soul? You can't search the Empress's memory at will. The Ghana tribe's leader and the others were angry. As Yi Tianyun's wife, they had to protect her. No one could hurt her. Empress? Does she deserve to be called an empress? Mu Zhenghao's eyes were full of contempt. He didn't take them seriously at all. I'll say it for the last time. Let me search her memory. Otherwise, it won't be easy to solve. Don't think you're the strongest just because you have several star venerables. You're not bad in this area, but for the Mu family, you're no different from a small faction. If you know what's good for you, just let me search your soul. If that's the case, we won't make things difficult for you. Otherwise, Mu Zhenghao's eyes were cold. They were full of killing intent. It seemed he would kill them at any moment. Otherwise what? A familiar voice came from behind them, followed by Yi Tianyun's figure. He walked out from inside with a cold expression. For you. Mu Zhenghao saw Yi Tianyun walk out and looked him up and down. He realized that he couldn't see through Yi Tianyun. Am I not the person you were looking for before? Yi Tianyun said calmly. Didn't you say that you weren't here anymore? Mu Zhenghao's eyes turned cold. He felt that he had been deceived, but he shook his head and said, Fine, I won't pursue the details. No matter who comes, give me a perfect explanation. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Soul search. Under normal circumstances, one's soul will be hurt. I wonder what kind of compensation you will give? Yi Tianyun said calmly. The compensation is some pills that can help your soul recover, Mu Zhenghao explained. That's it? Even with pills, it would take a long time for him to recover, right? Isn't this compensation a bit too simple? Yi Tianyun shook his head. As expected of a domineering clan, it was good enough that they could give him compensation, but it was too much. That's your only choice now. If you keep talking, forget about compensation, your entire ancestral land will be destroyed. Mu Zhenghao was getting impatient. He didn't want to waste any more time here. That's your only choice now. It seems like I roughly understand what you guys are trying to say. You guys are the same as the Lu clan, trying to use your clan's strength to suppress the weaker factions like us. If you don't obey, you'll die. Yi Tianyun shrugged. It seems like you're not that naive. I don't think I need to explain the rules, do I? Mu Zhenghao's eyes were filled with disdain. Sometimes one had to obey obediently. Alright, I'll explain it to you. I killed Mu Yangsu, whom you guys are looking for. I don't even need to search your soul, I'll just tell you. Yi Tianyun said as he walked towards Mu Zhenghao. Are you kidding me? Mu Zhenghao was taken aback at first. Then, he said mockingly, a star venerable from an indigenous planet dares to say he killed our elder? It seems like I have to do it myself. I'll investigate who made you protect him. Yi Tianyun extended his hand and pointed. The companions next to Mu Zhenghao were immediately suppressed by the power of a grand star venerable. Before they could react, they turned into a bloody mist. In an instant, only Mu Zhenghao was left. Mu Zhenghao, who had been about to take action, froze. He looked at Yi Tianyun in disbelief. He hadn't expected Yi Tianyun to be a Grand Star Venerable. You? How come you're a Grand Star Venerable? Mu Zhenghao was shocked. How could an indigenous planet have a Grand Star Venerable? That sounds familiar. The Lu clan's people said the same thing to me. Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. Do you think only the Red Moon planet has a Grand Star Venerable? Ridiculous. But it does make sense. Do you think you're better than others just because you occupy an area with good resources? If our desolate dragon planet had good resources, our Grand Star Venerables wouldn't be any less than yours. Of course, that's just an assumption. The real outcome doesn't exist. Some people are born with great advantages. If we want to catch up to them, we'll have to pay a high price. It's time for you to go down. I will deal with your Mu family soon, but before that, I will deal with the Lu family first. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, like a devil's smile. Mu Zhenghao quickly crushed the jade pendant in his hand. He wanted to send a message before his death. However, the jade pendant that he crushed was blocked by an invisible barrier. Words of law. Mu Zhenghao's throat moved, and he immediately knew that he was blocked by something. That's right. Word compliance. This thing is really useful. It can restrict so many things. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, I'm not afraid of you sending a message back. But I still have a lot of things to do. I'll visit you in person. Haha, visit you in person? Even if you're a Grand Star Venerable, the Mu clan doesn't have many Grand Star Venerables. Mu Zhenghao was still stubborn before his death. The Mu clan does have many Grand Star Venerables, but I don't think they are enough for me to kill. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, by the way, before you die, I have to tell you something. When I killed that elder of yours, I was only a Star Venerable. Impossible. Chapter 2165. When Yi Tianyun killed Mu Yangsu, he was indeed a Star Venerable. He had only managed to kill Mu Yangsu by suppressing his opponent's Star Dermic aspect. If one could not use the Star Dermic aspect, he could only exert less than half of his power, which was enough to show how powerful the Star Dermic aspect was. Everyone's Star Dermic aspect could provide them with a lot of power, especially their astral power. The more astral power they had, the stronger they were. Mu Yangsu could not exert her astral power, which meant she had lost more than 30 cubic meters of astral power, which meant she had lost at least 10 times her power. Under such circumstances, Yi Tianyun could certainly suppress her. In other words, if the Mu clan had many people with the dragon bloodline, it would be as easy as killing an ant for him. However, he would not go to the Mu clan for the time being. He had to prepare well. If he could improve his cultivation to the middle stage of the Grand Star Venerable realm, he would be more confident in dealing with the Mu clan. He had Mu Yangsu's memories, so he knew how strong the Mu clan was. They had a shocking number of Grand Star Venerables, and a terrifying number of Star Venerables. Many of them had the Dragon Clan's Star Dermic aspect, so it would be easier for him to deal with them. However, many of them did not have the Dragon Clan's Star Dermic aspect. Especially the few Grand Star Venerables at the top. Without their suppression, he would not have paid them a visit so soon. He would only act after everything was prepared. That was what he had always thought. The Mu clan's people were killed. They will probably send more people soon. I don't have to waste time talking to them. As long as the Mu clan's people come, I will just kill them. Yi Tianyun said calmly, if they can send Grand Star Venerables. I don't mind them sending Grand Star Venerables. If it was in his territory, I would still be a little afraid. But now that he's in my territory, that's not necessarily the case. The Mu clan's territory had all kinds of great formations. It would not be easy to deal with them. If the Grand Star Venerables used so many great formations, their power would not be weak. This was why Yi Tianyun wouldn't act recklessly. The enemy's camp wasn't easy to break. It would be different if those Grand Star Venerables came. Without the support of the formation, it would not be easy to deal with those Grand Star Venerables. At least, it would not be more difficult than going to the Mu clan. Being able to greatly increase his chances of successfully killing them was undoubtedly equivalent to giving him experience. Yes, my lord. The Ghana Patriarch and the others were also furious. If not for Shi Shuiyun telling them not to act recklessly, they would have killed them long ago. This group of people was so rude and domineering, not putting them in their eyes at all. One had to know that they had never felt fear when facing so many giant beasts. If they wanted to kill, then kill. There was no need to talk so much nonsense. Alright, I'll leave this place to you. I plan to make a trip to the Lu family and get rid of them first. Since they dared to make trouble here, I won't let them off so easily. Murderous intent filled the depths of Yi Tianyun's eyes. It was impossible not to make the Lu family pay the price by examining Lu Zhixing's memories. After giving instructions, Yi Tianyun used an teleportation divine stone and arrived at the Red Moon planet easily. As long as it wasn't a special region, the teleportation divine stone could reach many regions. In this way, he could save a lot of time. However, before that, he went to the star origin zone and upgraded his clone. He threw a lot of materials at it so that the clone's cultivation would improve greatly. The clone was his trump card, so he naturally had to train it well. However, he still needed a lot of star energy to break through to the Grand Star Venerable Realm, so he could only upgrade it to the late stage of Star Venerable Realm. When he had more star energy in the future, he could upgrade it to the Grand Star Venerable Realm. When he thought about how his clone could also become a Grand Star Venerable, it would be easier for him to deal with enemies. He thought about suddenly coming out of his body and launching a sneak attack. Just thinking about it made him feel happy. Then he went to the Lu family with ease. After taking control of Lu Zhixing's memories, he quickly found the fastest way, as if he was going back to his own home. At the same time, the Lu family was still making various plans. We have already taken control of several factions. 3 of them resisted quite fiercely. We have already killed a group of high-level members and forcibly occupied those factions. One of them reported the situation to Lu Xingning's patriarch with a smile in his eyes. He felt that he had done a good job. We also control 2 factions, but one of them resisted quite fiercely. We also destroyed it. It's almost the same on our side, but there is a faction with female cultivators. I wonder how we should deal with it, Lord Patriarch? The last person who reported the situation had a dirty look on his face. It seemed that he wanted to forcibly capture those female cultivators. Lu Xingning's eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "Not bad, you all did a good job. As for those female cultivators, we can take our time. We can't force them. Let's first arrange some people to control them and assimilate them bit by bit. It won't do us any good if we force them. If we assimilate them, it would be a good way for our Lu family to cultivate our forces. Overall, you all did a good job. The areas assigned to you have all been done well. When everyone comes back, I will reward you well." Lu Xingning said indifferently, "As for those factions that joined, if they don't obey orders, then destroy them. I don't want to raise a disobedient dog." "Yes, Patriarch." They nodded heavily, indicating that they understood. For these factions, they would kill them if they wanted to. They wouldn't show any sympathy. As expected, if your strength is too weak, you are destined to be annexed. A ghostly voice came from the side. "Who is it?" The sudden voice was definitely not simple. Their natural sense of danger made them immediately hide to the side, and at the same time, look towards the area where the voice came from. They had set up their defenses in the blink of an eye. They were indeed well trained. "Don't mind who I am. I didn't expect to hear your reports just as I came." Yun slowly walked out from the side and clapped his hands. "It really is the law of the jungle. The weaker factions are at your mercy. I don't care about that, but since you have extended your hands into my faction, I have no choice but to come here." "Which faction are you from?" Lu Xingning's eyes looked up and down at Yi Tianyun. His heart sank. Yi Tianyun can suddenly appear next to him without him knowing. There is only one possibility, that is, Yi Tianyun's cultivation is very strong, or his ability to hide is very strong. Chapter 2166. Does it matter which force I belong to? Yi Tianyun walked in with a faint smile. He said, "Anyway, you sent people here to take over my force by force." As soon as he finished speaking, he flicked his wrist. The Star Lords next to him were smashed into a bloody mist. They didn't even have a chance to react before they died. What was left were the Star Venerables. There were only 6 of them. They were all in the middle stage of Star Venerable realm. Of course, Lu Xingning was the highest among them. He was in the late stage of Star Venerable realm. Of course, their cultivations couldn't pose any threat to him. It was obvious that even if Lu Xingning activated the Great Formation, he wouldn't be harmed at all. However, he wouldn't let Lu Xingning activate the Great Formation, because it would only waste time. Grand Star Venerable. The energy released by Yi Tianyun's attack made Lu Xingning and the others' happy mood plummet. They didn't know why their clansmen were so ignorant. Which force did they offend? How could such a strong man help them? A strong man of this level was even a Grand Star Venerable. They regretted it very much. Normally, they would investigate thoroughly. They would know clearly what the other party's background was and whether he had a backer or not. They would never offend a force casually. God knew whether some forces were supported by the families of the Red Moon planet. Therefore, they would investigate for a long time before they attacked. They wouldn't make any mistakes. However, they neglected one thing. Yi Tianyun didn't have a backer, but he was a strong man. Why did he need a backer? Milord, you must have some misunderstanding about this. What our subordinates do is to assign tasks normally. Sometimes we don't know how they act. Some of them even act on their own to gain merits. Lu Xingning was smiling. He didn't feel angry at all because Yi Tianyun had killed his subordinates. Or, he could only feel angry in his heart. He didn't dare to show his anger. After all, he was facing a Grand Star Venerable. Facing a strong force, he could only choose to compromise. Seeing the smiling Lu Xingning, Yi Tianyun shook his head. This was really sad. It couldn't be said that they were wrong. It wasn't uncommon for them to sacrifice themselves for the sake of others. However, this made Yi Tianyun even more disdainful. Joining these families was truly a kind of tragedy. If it was him, he definitely wouldn't do such a thing. If he abandoned his subordinates, then in the future, his subordinates would also abandon him. Moreover, he wouldn't do something like forcefully occupying another's force. Unless it was an invasion, he couldn't be bothered to deal with it. That was how things were now. Once he attacked, then prepare to receive his wrath. Oh, is that so? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes and walked over. Lu Xingning and the rest broke out in cold sweat, not daring to move an inch. Yes, they want to make a contribution, so sometimes they invade other forces without reporting it. We don't know about this. Lu Xingning directly pushed the blame to his subordinates and said apologetically, Sir, I don't know what kind of loss I've caused you. We can use other treasures to compensate you, or if you have any suggestions, we will compensate you. Lu Xingning's handling of the situation was quite on point. Not only did he push the blame to his subordinates, but he also immediately admitted his mistake and compensated them. Most people wouldn't be angry about this. Some forces would really do such a thing for their subordinates. Some forces would do something extra if they wanted to make a contribution. If they did it well, it would be a great contribution. But if they offended the enemy, they would be abandoned immediately. Yi Tianyun extended his hand and grabbed at the air. He dragged a Star Venerable next to him and crushed his head as easily as crushing an ant. Go on. Yi Tianyun let Lu Xingning speak after crushing the Star Venerable's head. Lu Xingning's face stiffened, and the smile on his face froze. Anger flashed in the depths of his eyes, but he had to hold it in. Sir, we really don't know. If you do this, you will put our Lu family in a difficult position. Our ancestor is also a great Star Venerable, and he is in seclusion. If he comes out, it will be unpleasant. Lu Xingning said with a faint smile, Sir, we already admitted our mistake. Did we cause you a great loss? As I said just now, as long as you tell us what you want, we will satisfy you. Lu Xingning was heartbroken by the death of one of his family's elders, but he could only smile. Yi Tianyun grabbed another elder and crushed his head. Then he said with a faint smile, Go on. Lu Xingning's face fell. If this went on, all of his elders would die. How could he continue? What do you mean? Do you want to exterminate our Lu family? Lu Xingning was angry. Our Lu family isn't a pushover. I don't want to exterminate your Lu family, But if you want to exterminate my forces, then it's a different story. Lee Tianyun said indifferently, "What do you think? Do you think I should return the favor?" "Sir, I told you, it was our subordinates doing. We didn't know anything." Lu Xingning said in a low voice, "We didn't know what our subordinates did. But no matter what, it's our Lu family's responsibility. That's why we decided to give you some compensation to show our apology." Lee Tianyun sucked again. The elder couldn't resist and was sucked into his palm. Lu Xingning's eyes were red. He shouted, trying to stop Lee Tianyun. But it was useless. Lee Tianyun crushed his head and killed another elder. Now there were only 3 of them left. It was really miserable. They were being beaten up. "Didn't know anything? Well said. It's a perfect way to shift the blame." Lee Tianyun continued, "Wild Dragon Star, Heavenly Cloud Ancestral Land. Kill anyone who resists. Take their forces by force. Especially Heavenly Cloud Star Sovereign. Kill anyone who refuses. Don't let his children go. His potential is amazing. If we let him go, he will bring trouble to the Lu family in the future." "To whom did you say this?" Lee Tianyun's eyes were full of murderous intent. He didn't make it up. He got it from Lu Zhixing's memory. This order was given by none other than Lu Xingning himself. There must be a reason why he came here in such a rage. He wasn't a ruthless person. But since the other wanted to exterminate him, why should he be polite? This time he had come to kill. Apart from that, forgiveness and compensation were meaningless. Now, Lu Xingning kept lying. It was ridiculous. Chapter 2167. Lee Tianyun's words sent a chill down Lu Xingning's spine. How could he not know who had said that? That was exactly what he had said. But he hadn't expected it to be a strong man from the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. He hadn't expected that at all. The Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land had been investigated many times. In general, it was a force with great potential. It would be a good choice for the Lu family to manage it. Therefore, after a thorough investigation, they had learned that the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land didn't have any backing except for Lee Tianyun, who was amazingly talented. So, they started to act. They had to conquer the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. If they can't take Lee Tianyun down, then they will kill Lee Tianyun and his family. They can't leave any future trouble. When Lee Tianyun learned about this matter, he really wanted to kill the Lu family immediately and flatten them. But he suppressed his anger and dealt with the matter first. Then he would visit the Lu family first. The Lu family was even more ruthless than the Mu family. If the Lu family's cultivation had been a little bit stronger, the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land would have been doomed. "What? You don't know what to say?" Lee Tianyun said calmly, "You said it yourself. Do you think I've done something wrong?" We made a mistake. We really didn't know you were from the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. If we had known that, we wouldn't have attacked the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land." Lu Xingning cursed silently. He had investigated so many times. How could the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land have such a strong man backing it? "I don't know what losses we've caused to the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. If it's possible, we can make it up to you. As long as you ask for anything, we will satisfy you." Lu Xingning gnashed his teeth. In order to appease Lee Tianyun, he had to go all out. As long as it was within the scope of the conditions, he would agree. "That's because I'm stronger than you. Now that I think about it, what you said was really ruthless. Strong cultivators can do whatever they want. I also want to do whatever I want." Lee Tianyun grinned. Before Lu Xingning could react, another star venerable next to him was killed. "Bastard, even if our Lu family has to risk our lives, we'll fight you to the death." Lu Xingning roared angrily and crushed the jade pendant in his hand. He was definitely calling the old ancestor who was in seclusion to come out and help. As expected, as soon as he crushed it, the ground began to shake. Lee Tianyun ignored him and continued to slap another elder to death. At the same time, he reached out to grab Lu Xingning, wanting to crush him. "Friend, that should be enough, right?" An ancient voice rang out from beneath the ground. At the same time, a gigantic palm shot out, enveloping Lu Xingning and blocking Lee Tianyun's attack. If it were you, your entire family would be annihilated, and you would know if it was enough. Yi Tianyun snorted coldly. He suddenly raised his strength, and a violent force shattered the giant palm. At the same time, it pressed down on Lu Xingning. "Old ancestor, save me!" Lu Xingning shouted loudly. He did not want to die. "In that case, just stay here." A giant star Dharma Laksana appeared in the sky. It was a giant hairy ape. Giant hairy apes were famous for their great power. He turned his hand around and threw a giant fist at Yi Tianyun. 33 cubic meters of star power appeared in the sky. It was a pretty good power. Yi Tianyun's palm was shattered by this punch. At the same time, he was sent flying. He did not stop until he had retreated a long distance. At this moment, the Lu family's old ancestor showed up. He was an old man with a sage-like appearance and a long white beard. He was swaying gently. His hands were behind his back. He looked at Yi Tianyun coldly. It was not obvious that this old man had a powerful star Dharma Laksana. His thin body contained a violent power. It was really not symmetrical. "Ancestor, he killed many of our elders. You must avenge our elders." Lu Xingning's heart ached incomparably. The elders that he had painstakingly nurtured were all dead just like that. How could his heart not ache? "Shut up. This is all your fault. Once this is over, I will definitely punish you severely." Patriarch Lu glared at him angrily. Then he looked at Yi Tianyun and said coldly, "It seems that if I don't show myself, the world will forget about my existence. Today, I will use you as a sacrifice to the heavens. Looks like you're confident that you can kill me. You want to punish him? I'm afraid you won't have the chance. You two go down together and think about what you've done wrong." Yi Tianyun smiled, and the image of the rainbow emperor dragon appeared behind him. The power of the unique star Dharma was released, causing their expressions to change. An extremely rare unique star Dharma had appeared in front of them just like that, and its power was much higher than theirs. A grand star venerable with a unique star Dharma aspect. Very good. Patriarch Lu's face turned gloomy. This was indeed a great challenge. Let's see if you can withstand my fist. With power, you can indeed do whatever you want. However, it's not you who can do whatever you want. It's me. Patriarch Lu waved his fist. The star Dharma aspect behind him merged instantly and turned him into a giant hairy ape. His shriveled body turned into a giant hairy ape instantly. His giant fist hammered the ground lightly, and everything within 10,000 miles shook. "Ancestor, kill him." Lu Xingning knew he would be punished, but it was better than death. For him, even if Yi Tianyun had a unique star Dharma aspect, he would still be suppressed by his ancestor. After all, Patriarch Lu's cultivation was in the middle stage of a grand star venerable, while Yi Tianyun's cultivation was only in the early stage of a grand star venerable. A real expert won't do whatever he wants just because he has a bit of power. Seeing Patriarch Lu charging at him, Yi Tianyun jumped slightly and turned into a 7-colored emperor dragon. He opened his mouth and swallowed the star power above him. He swallowed a large amount of star power and turned it into his own star power. Old ancestor Lu felt that his power was quickly weakened. He didn't expect Yi Tianyun to have such a terrible ability. By the time he realized how terrifying Yi Tianyun was, it was already too late. After swallowing a large amount of star power, Patriarch Lu became much weaker, while Yi Tianyun became much stronger. Coupled with the crazy damage mode and the stacking of powers like the starlight deity, Yi Tianyun simply waved his claw and pressed forward, crushing the fist that was coming at him into pieces. In the end, Patriarch Lu was pressed onto the ground, unable to move. "Is this your so-called power that allows you to do whatever you want?" Yi Tianyun looked down at Patriarch Lu, who was pressed onto the ground. "How dare you be so arrogant in front of me, saying that you want to sacrifice me to the heavens? Today, I will sacrifice you to the heavens." Chapter 2168. Old Master Lu felt a chill in his chest. Then, his head felt like it was about to explode. At the same time, Yi Tianyun's dragon claws pierced into his head, easily breaking through his thick defenses and grabbing his soul out of his head. All that was left was the huge shell. However, after losing its soul, it quickly turned into motes of light and dissipated. In the end, not even its bones were left behind. Without a soul carrier, the body would naturally dissipate. After all, it was formed by the accumulation of astral power. When people died, they would dissipate. Lu Xingning, who was at the side, was stunned. Their old ancestor was easily killed and his soul was easily captured. This meant that the Lu family was finished. The old ancestor was captured. Lu Xingning sat on the ground, paralyzed. He did not even need to escape. Who could escape from a Grand Star Venerable? It was impossible for them to escape from Yi Tianyun, unless they were Great Star Venerables themselves or had other experts helping them. Otherwise, it was impossible for them to escape from Yi Tianyun. After Yi Tianyun captured old ancestor Lu's soul, he used his divine soul bloodline to erase old ancestor Lu's memories. How could he let go of such good memories and such a good puppet? What he lacked at the moment was experts. His puppets could reach the late stage of the Star Venerable realm with just a few materials. If he had enough materials in the later stages, he would have no problem breaking through to the Grand Star Venerable realm. Of course, this required a lot of materials, and the price to pay was not low. At the moment, he was still targeting Star Venerables. He had the soul of a Grand Star Venerable as his foundation, and he was definitely one of the best among Star Venerables. It could be said that he was invincible among Star Venerables. With a few more Great Star Venerates soul puppets, they would be able to deal with early-stage Great Star Venerates. Yi Tianyun was also very interested in old ancestor Lu's memory. He was very interested in the memory of a Grand Star Venerable. Ding. Successfully killed old ancestor Lu. Reward: 1 billion star energy and 1,000 slaughter points. Obtained Hairy Ape Star Form, Level 6, Hairy Ape Bloodline, Death's Door, Super Rare. Death's Gate. Once opened, it will lead to the Death Zone. Legend has it that there are countless souls waiting to be reincarnated. Yi Tianyun noticed that the items that dropped recently were quite peculiar. After activating the Lucky Halo, a lot of rare items would drop, and there were even more super rare items. The higher the cultivation, the higher the drop rate. The items that were dropped were all special. For example, they were all keys that could lead to special areas. He currently had a few keys in his hands. Now, this gate of death could even lead to the Death Zone, and it also warned him that it was extremely dangerous. This would not be simple, but extremely dangerous. Even a Grand Star Venerate like him would be in danger if he went there. It was easy to imagine how dangerous it would be over there. They are all souls. If I can find some high-quality souls, wouldn't I be able to create a large puppet army? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up, but he didn't want to go there for the time being. He had already been warned that it was very dangerous, so it was better to wait until his cultivation increased a little. Then, he turned his gaze to Lu Xingning, flew down from the sky, and landed beside him. What? You're not arrogant anymore? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't talk nonsense. Lu Xingning said angrily. He knew that Yi Tianyun wouldn't let him go, so he decided to be stubborn. At least he could die a little more honorably. Yi Tianyun slapped Lu Xingning to death with the back of his hand. Okay, as you wish. Yi Tianyun retracted his hand and turned his gaze to the Lu family. What happened next was needless to say. He killed some of the upper echelons of the Lu family and ignored the rest. Those were small fries who didn't know the situation. They probably didn't even know who the intruders were. After dealing with the Lu family, Yi Tianyun returned to Desolate Dragon Planet. He didn't plan to go to the Mu family. If he wanted to go there personally, he would have to increase his cultivation a little more. He was still a long way from reaching the middle stage of Grand Star Venerate. After he left, the news of the Lu family's destruction spread quickly. It caused quite an uproar on Scarlet Moon Planet. It was quite famous. The Lu family was a mid-tier family, so they were quite powerful. Now that they were destroyed, it would still cause an uproar on Scarlet Moon Planet. Many families started to investigate the situation, especially those at the same level as the Lu family. They also started to investigate. They wanted to know who attacked the Lu family. Maybe they would attack them one day. The high-tier families also sent people to investigate, but they didn't pay much attention to it. It didn't matter to them who destroyed a mid-tier family. Anyway, it wouldn't be their turn. They all had many Grand Star Venerates. If anyone dared to attack, they wouldn't even know how they died. While Scarlet Moon Planet sent people to investigate, Tianyun had already returned to Desolate Dragon Planet. He continued to make arrangements. What he was waiting for was the opening of the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. At that time, he would go and look for opportunities to help him break through. What he wanted to find was to increase the level of the Star Dharma idol. That was the most important thing. If he wanted to increase his cultivation, he just needed to hack at it fiercely. But only a Grand Star Venerate could bring him more star energy. The star energy of a Star Venerate was really not enough to fill his teeth. Without a faction that provoked him, it was really hard for his cultivation to increase. If he went to the giant divine beast domain and killed some people, he could get a lot of star energy. But the premise was that the giant divine beast hadn't attacked him yet. If it did, he could only run. He really didn't have the heart to face the giant divine beast. That great power was really frightening. Do I have to wait here foolishly? Tianyun thought about it. There was nothing he could do for the time being. It was mainly because Shueyun could take care of most things. There were also a bunch of family masters. It would be hard for him to get involved even if he wanted to. As for looking for spiritual herbs, he didn't care. Most of the resources here had been dug out. It was a bit difficult and he would have to run too far. That wasn't his style. Should I use this shining golden door? Tianyun thought about it. Then he looked at the shining golden door in his inventory. This thing was a bit tricky. It had a special meaning, which was that it would teleport him to an unknown region. No one knew what the unknown region was like. It could be dangerous or it could be safe. Maybe he would teleport to Scarlet Moon Planet. That would be hilarious. But apart from that, he couldn't think of anything else he could use. If it was the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion, he could only use it when the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion opened. The Door of Death was too dangerous, so he couldn't use it for the time being. For now, he could only use the shining golden door. Chapter 2169. Teleporting to an unknown area really made him curious and excited. If he was teleported to a dangerous place, it would be more than enough for him. On the contrary, if it was an ordinary area, it would be meaningless. The saddest thing was that he would be teleported to a familiar place. That would be even more ridiculous. No matter what, this was the only way for Tianyun to improve himself now. If he went to a good area, he could improve himself. If there was nothing, he could only accept it. Since he had this thing, why not use it? Let's see how it works. I hope I can go to a good area. Tianyun pursed his lips and said with a smile, "By the way, I can activate the lucky halo. With the blessing of luck, I should be able to go to a good area." He almost forgot about the lucky halo. He had only chosen to activate it when he was killing enemies. He would not activate it normally. Now it was random. If he used the lucky halo, he might be able to go to a very good area. The lucky halo could increase his chances of going to a good area. How could he not use it? After activating it, Tianyun was relieved to use the shining golden door. After activating it, a golden door quickly appeared in front of him. There was golden light in front of him, and he could not see anything. He had no idea where he would be teleported to. "I'm going all out. I hope I have more luck." Tianyun took a step forward and entered the shining golden door. After his entire body entered, the shining golden door disappeared completely, as if nothing had ever happened. In the next second, Tianyun passed through the thick golden door and entered another area. As soon as he came out, he saw piles of elixirs, which basically filled this vast and boundless area. After seeing the elixirs in the gigantic divine beast palace, Tianyun was not so surprised. He had to say that apart from the gigantic divine beasts area, this was the area with the most elixirs. The elixirs here were really too rich. Golden divine grass, 9 revolution star grass, and so on could all be found here. Also, The 10,000 Emperor flower could also be found here. More importantly, he could tell at a glance that this place was artificially cultivated. It was obvious that the area he had entered was someone else's world. There were great formations set up all over this place, continuously absorbing the stellar energy from the outside to nourish the divine medicine here. Who are you? How did you get here? A sharp killing intent immediately came from the side. Without saying a word, it first attacked Yi Tianyun, wanting to capture him. Yi Tianyun didn't even raise his head. He stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion in the air, catching the person who had pounced on him. The one caught was a star venerate. Naturally, he could not resist Xiao Chen's strength. Under his void palm, it kept twisting and turning. It was impossible to even send a message out. At this moment, Yi Tianyun raised his head and looked over. He couldn't see anything from his attire, so he wasn't very clear about the other party's identity. Which faction are you from? Yi Tianyun showed an indifferent expression. Barging into someone else's territory was rather rude. However, he still had to find out what exactly this place was. The flickering golden door brought him to a special region. This was a completely unknown region, so he had no idea where he was. Now that he saw someone, he had to figure this out first. Who exactly are you? How did you barge in? That star venerate twisted and turned continuously, horror filling his eyes. No matter what, he was a star venerate, yet he ended up being controlled just like that. This horrified him. If Xiao Chen casually entered, wouldn't he be able to steal all the divine medicine here? It looks like there is no way to communicate. Let me do it myself. Yi Tianyun directly used a super soul-searching spell. Since he asked so many questions and did not even answer, he might as well do it himself. After a round of soul-searching, Xiao Chen directly crushed this star venerate. His gaze turned cold as he said, "Oh, enemies really do not meet. My luck is pretty good. I was directly sent to the Mu clan's treasure trove." After investigating, Xiao Chen discovered that the place he had come to was not a strange expert's world but one of the Mu clan's treasure troves. He had not expected to be sent here. Normally, he would have to force his way in if he wanted to come in. Then, he would be surrounded by many star venerates. It would be very difficult to come in, especially since there were many formations outside. Even a giant divine beast might not be able to come in. Xiao Chen knew Mu Yangsu's memories, so he knew how difficult it was outside. This was why he had not attacked. If he had not been so strong, he would have charged over long ago instead of waiting for the Mu clan to charge over or for his cultivation to increase before coming over to settle the score. Now, he was directly inside the treasure trove. There were not as many formations inside as there were outside. Since he was already inside the formation, it was impossible for there to be all sorts of offensive formations inside. This way, he could get out from the inside and directly wreak havoc on the inside. What a pleasant surprise for me. Settling the score so soon. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. Murderous intent filled the depths of his eyes. Then, Xiao Chen started to clean up the spirit herbs here. He picked them all, regardless of whether they were mature or immature. He did not leave a single stalk behind. Along the way, Xiao Chen ran into some apprentice alchemists. They were all star venerates, but Xiao Chen killed them all. After plundering everything, Xiao Chen swaggered out and passed through the passage. When he arrived outside, he killed the guards with one palm strike before they could react. Who would have thought that an enemy would come out from inside? The guards had never thought of this. The reason they were guarding this place was to prevent inner disciples from entering at will, not to prevent enemies from breaking in. After killing the guards, Yi Tianyun easily entered the Mu clan's interior and started to plunder. He had Mu Yangsu's memories, so he knew where the treasures were and where it was safer to go. Anyway, his biggest goal in coming here was to plunder. He wanted to plunder all the treasures of the Mu clan and collect interest. Coincidentally, this was the treasure district. With Mu Yangsu's memories, it was easy for him to open the door. Elixir area, enter. Forging material area, enter. Weapon area, enter. Yi Tianyun swept through the entire place and plundered all the treasures in the treasure trove. There were no offensive formations inside. Most of them were in the outermost passage. He did not need to go through that passage, so he did not need to worry about anything. Of course, even if there were formations here, he did not need to worry. With Mu Yangsu's memories, it was like returning home to him. Chapter 2170. Looking at the door of the treasure vault, Yi Tianyun could feel a trace of terrifying energy from the door. It was as if there was an amazing treasure sealed inside the door. Most importantly, Mu Yangsu's memory didn't contain anything similar. It meant that they got it after Mu Yangsu went out. Since Mu Yangsu had been killed by him, she didn't know what was inside. That made him very curious. What was inside? He started to open the door of the treasury without thinking too much. No matter what was inside, he just needed to take it. Along the way, it was obvious that this was an area where treasures were stored. This place was no exception. There would not be any star venerables hiding here to cultivate. This wasn't a seclusion room. Star venerables wouldn't choose to cultivate here. Then he started to break the star patterns on the door of the treasury. Fortunately, it wasn't difficult. They were all around the level of third-grade star patterns, so he could still break them. The protection here was simple and not very complicated. Obviously, it was done in a rush, and it just needed to be filled in a little bit. If there were star patterns of 4th or 5th grade, he wouldn't be able to do anything. He would have to improve his level as a star tattoo master. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to break the star patterns here. He broke the star patterns quickly while using the crazy star pattern mode. He couldn't stay here for too long, or he would be discovered easily. So, he had to break them as soon as possible. Soon, he broke the star patterns easily. Then he pushed the door gently and slipped inside. At the same time, he closed the door without leaving any trace. After he entered, he immediately felt a power filled with darkness. It surged from the front and instantly swallowed him. With his abilities, he naturally wouldn't be devoured by the dark force. With a wave of his hand, the dark force was dispersed. Ah! A painful cry came from the front. Yi Tianyun looked at the direction of the sound and found a girl tied by a thick iron chain in front of her. Her whole body is tied to a stone tablet. Faint golden lights kept gushing out of the stone tablet and penetrating the special iron chain. The girl in front of him was the one who had released the dark power. The girl's face was covered by her long black hair, making it impossible to see what she looked like. What she looked like wasn't important. What was important was that the girl's body was constantly emitting the power of darkness. It was a very dense power of darkness. Even though the steel of light was a steel of light, it still couldn't suppress the release of the power of darkness in her body. However, this power of darkness was not particularly strong. Its corrosive effect on the chains was rather weak. From the looks of it, it would take a long time to erode the chains. When it is about to be destroyed, it is estimated that the Mujia will also send people to repair it. Basically, it is difficult to escape. Sacred body of darkness, there's such a top-notch physique. When Yi Tianyun saw the girl, he quickly used the appraisal eye to check her information. The girl in front of him was called Kong Yeyue, and she was a member of the Death Clan. She possessed the sacred body of darkness, which was the overlord of darkness. It could be said that all of the power of darkness would submit to her control. It was quite shocking. Yi Tianyun also found out that she was a member of the Death Clan. The people of the Death Clan were very strange. They specialized in finding the souls of the dead, which meant that they could be resurrected. For some clans, this ability was simply the ability to resurrect their own people. If the dead could be resurrected, wouldn't that make them invincible? In fact, the Death Clan couldn't find the souls of the dead endlessly. It also depended on the cultivation of the soul. The weaker the soul, the easier it was to find it. At the same time, it would also cause harm to themselves. God gave them this ability, but it can't be used casually. How could it be used without paying a price? If it could be used casually, then the order would be destroyed. How could the Mujia capture the people of the Death Clan? The Death Clan's population is extremely small. They generally don't appear in the world. How could they catch them? Yi Tianyun was very puzzled. The girl in front of him looked very evil and dark, but in fact, the Death Clan wasn't evil at all. On the contrary, it was the hope that many cultivators had been searching for. After all, the Death Clan could help to save their own people. Even if they couldn't save them endlessly, at least they could save some of them. Usually, the Death Clan wouldn't save people casually because it would consume their souls. If it wasn't very important, or if they didn't pay a price, they wouldn't do it. Such a mysterious Death Clan was actually captured by the Mujia, which really surprised him. No matter what, this was indeed a treasure, and a very valuable one at that. If it was seen by other forces, they would definitely rob it. Robbing a member of the Death Clan was equivalent to saving several of their own people. How could this not make them excited? Why aren't you talking? Don't you know how to persuade me? No matter who you call, I won't help you save people. Even if I die, I won't help you save people. Kong Yeyue looked at Yi Tianyun coldly. When she saw that Yi Tianyun didn't speak, she couldn't help but say it. Miss, you misunderstood me. I'm not here to persuade you. I'm a sworn enemy of the Mujia. I snuck in and looted the treasures here. I thought there would be some treasures here, but I didn't expect to see you here. Yi Tianyun sized up Kong Yeyue. Her cultivation was pretty good. She was a star venerable. However, a star venerable couldn't cause any trouble here. Even though she had the dark sacred body, she was easily controlled. The gap between their cultivations was obvious, and a grand star venerable could easily control her. Kong Yeyue was struck dumb. She didn't expect Yi Tianyun to say this. I don't believe you. You must be lying. Kong Yeyue said coldly, the Mu family has many grand star venerables, and they are protected by many strong people outside. How could they sneak in without being discovered? I already said that I snuck in and used a little technique to get in. Of course, you won't believe what I say now. So, I'll take you out of here. Yi Tianyun wasn't being compassionate. He just wanted to take part in anything that could ruin the Mu family's plan. Chapter 2171. Yi Tianyun's words silenced Kong Yeyue. After thinking for a while, she said, since that's the case, then help me out. As long as you help me out, I will repay you well. Of course, that's not a problem. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He had been waiting for Kong Yeyue to say that. Then he went to Kong Yeyue and saw that Kong Yeyue was covered in wounds. They were all caused by the light attribute chains. Since she was a restraining element, she was covered in cuts and bruises when she was slightly tied up. For her, these injuries were not serious. She would be fine after a short recovery. After observing her carefully, he started to break the chains. It was not difficult to break the chains. He only needed to break them with brute force. Since the chains were set up by a grand star venerable, they contained a bit of light attribute energy. So, Yi Tianyun only needed to break them with brute force. Kong Yeyue's cultivation was too weak. It would take her a long time to break them with brute force. It's almost time. When I break them, the Mu clan's grand star venerable will be attracted. Then, you can hide in my body's world. I will help you escape, Yi Tianyun explained. Okay. Kong Yeyue did not say much. Her eyes, which were hidden under her long hair, were flashing. No one knew what she was thinking. Maybe she did not completely trust Yi Tianyun. Maybe it was all a trap. For example, he might send someone to save her so that he could gain her trust. There were many such plans. If she was not careful, she would be deceived. Yi Tianyun did not say much. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the chains. Then he pulled them hard, trying to break them with brute force. As he pulled, the chains gave off a dazzling golden light, trying to block Yi Tianyun's attack. However, this was meaningless. As Yi Tianyun yanked hard, cracks started to appear on the chains. Even the stone of light behind him started to crack. Grand Star Venerable. Kong Yeyue was stunned. She had not expected Yi Tianyun to be a Grand Star Venerable. She had assumed he was a Star Venerable. It looked like she had been wrong. The one who had come to save her was a Grand Star Venerable. However, the more it was so, the more she suspected it might be the Mu family's Grand Star Venerable. Before everything was settled, she would not believe in anything or anyone. At the same time, a Grand Star Venerable outside the treasure house suddenly opened his eyes. What's going on? My verbal compliance law is about to be broken? She can actually break my verbal compliance law. This is impossible. The glorious star venerable quickly stood up and rushed to Yi Tianyun's side. He instantly rushed down to check on the situation. He did not inform the other Grand Star Venerables, because Grand Star Venerables practiced separately. At the same time, he thought it might be Kong Yeyue's doing, so he did not inform the others. After all, no matter how powerful Kong Yeyue was, she was only a Star Venerable. He could deal with her easily. Most importantly, he did not understand how a Star Venerable could break his verbal compliance law. As for the invasion of enemies, he did not think too much about it. The treasure house's passage was under the surveillance of many Star Venerables. As long as someone approached, no matter who it was, they would know it clearly. So, they knew clearly who had entered the treasure house. This did not hinder their practice. They just needed to send out a wisp of divine thought to monitor it. It did not cost them much effort. Before the glorious Star Venerable came in, Tianyun had forcefully torn off the chains. It was difficult, but it was still easy for him to deal with it. It was impossible for other Star Venerables to break it. If one's cultivation was too low, he would not be able to break it. You can run away now. Looking at Kong Yeyue, Yi Tianyun said calmly, "You can enter the space inside my body. Just stay there." Yi Tianyun waved his hand, and a space passage appeared for Kong Yeyue to go in. Kong Yeyue kept silent for a while. Then she stepped in. She had no choice but to do it because she suspected or trusted him. As soon as Kong Yeyue went in, the gate outside was smashed open with a bang. The glorious Star Venerable showed up at the gate. "Who are you? How did you get in?" When the glorious Star Venerable came in, he happened to see Kong Yeyue being taken into the space. He also saw Yi Tianyun. When he saw who it was, he was dumbfounded. How could anyone sneak in under such surveillance? 6 stars shine. Yi Tianyun responded with his strongest killing move. Before the glorious Star Venerable could come in, he had already exerted his strongest power and smashed it down. However, he did not transform into the 7-colored Emperor Dragon's true body. Instead, he used his true body to attack. Even without the true body's power, he could still exert great power. Under the heavy punch, countless balls of light whizzed toward the glorious Star Venerable. They surrounded the glorious Star Venerable from all directions. There was no place for him to hide. The glorious Star Venerable was not a pushover. He reacted quickly to resist. He spread his hand, and a wall of light appeared around him, forming an indestructible defense. Boom, boom, boom. Countless balls of light kept bombarding the thick wall of light. Since it had been formed in a hurry, its defense was extremely weak. Countless cracks appeared on the wall of light. It seemed like it would collapse at any moment. The glorious Star Venerable was not a very strong Star Venerable. He was only in the early stage of the Star Venerable realm. It was not difficult for Yi Tianyun to face a Star Venerable in the early stage of the Star Venerable realm. "It's too late," Yi Tianyun smiled. His figure disappeared quickly. In the next second, he appeared in front of the glorious Star Venerable. With the balls of light bombarding him, he threw a heavy punch at the glorious Star Venerable. Primal Chaos Fist. He threw a punch at close range, shattering the fragile protective wall and hitting the brilliant Star Venerable. When the glorious Star Venerable looked down and saw a fist on his chest, he was stunned. He had not expected his defense to be so weak. Not to mention the light wall outside, he had also built a thick defense on his body. However, he still could not resist this punch. Explode! Boom! The glorious Star Venerable was blown apart. His body was blown away. Even his soul was severely injured. Before the glorious Star Venerable could escape, Yi Tianyun reached out and grabbed his soul. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. A Grand Star Venerable had been killed so easily. It shouldn't have been that easy. After all, they were in Yi Tianyun's territory, but the brilliant Great Star Venerable was not prepared at all, and he was directly defeated by Yi Tianyun's storm-like attack. Chapter 2172. Ding! successfully killed the brilliant Great Star Venerable. Obtained 500 million star energy points and 1,000 kill points. Obtained the brilliant Star King's Star Dharma Idol, level 6, level 4, brilliant Great Shield, can withstand the fierce attacks of a Great Star Venerable for a short time. Brilliant Divine Gate, rare. Brilliant Divine Gate, can go to a light attribute domain. Unknown danger. Now, he could get a special treasure and go to a light attribute domain. However, it was not marked on the Death Gate. It would be very dangerous. The degree of danger was unknown. It might be very dangerous or it might not be dangerous at all. In any case, there would be another good place to go. If there was a need for a light attribute domain, he could go there easily. After killing the brilliant Great Star Venerable, the jade card placed in the Mu clan's palace immediately shattered. The old guard next to it was startled. What's going on? Wasn't the brilliant Great Star Venerable in the clan? How could he die? The old guard was petrified. Mu Yongsu had been killed outside. That was not a problem. But the brilliant Great Star Venerable was in the clan. If he died in the clan, what did that mean? It meant that some strong people in the clan had sneaked in to assassinate him. It's bad. It's bad. The old guard ran out in a hurry and crushed the jade card. However, the jade card this time was different. It was a token to notify everyone. After being notified, everyone was startled. How could such a thing happen at such a critical moment? The Great Star Venerables all woke up from their seclusion. What's going on? Is there an emergency? They all came out of their seclusion rooms and flew outside to check the situation outside. However, after they came out, they did not see anything. There was nothing going on outside. It's strange. What's going on? They were all a little dumbfounded. What was this emergency? At that moment, the old guard hurried over and reported, "It's bad. Elder Guangyao is dead." Elder Guangyao is dead? They were all shocked. They did not expect Elder Guangyao to be dead. Elder Guangyao was clearly in the seclusion room. How is it possible? Isn't Elder Guangyao in the seclusion room? I've even met him before. But the jade tablet shattered just like that? Quick, check the situation. They immediately checked the situation around them. The entire Mu clan was reflected in their eyes, but they didn't find anything wrong. Could it be that something went wrong in the treasury? They were shocked. The treasury was an area that they couldn't easily explore. Even if it was them, they wouldn't be able to find out what was going on inside. After all, if they could investigate as they pleased, it meant that others could do the same. This was naturally not allowed. Soon after, they all ran into the treasury. As soon as they ran down, they found that there was not a single guard. This time, their hearts sank. The guards were gone, which meant that something must have happened. Sure enough, when they pushed open the doors of the treasury one by one, they almost fainted. Even though they had weathered many storms, they still felt a little dizzy when their treasure vaults were emptied. It was unknown how much effort they had put in to accumulate so many treasures. Although it wasn't all the treasures, it was still a shocking amount of wealth. No matter which family it was, having so many treasures taken away would still be extremely distressed. The most important treasures were naturally with them. But no matter what, those treasures were quite good. They would rather give them to their subordinates than let them be stolen. The Death Clan. They looked at each other and quickly rushed to the treasury where Kong Yue was imprisoned. They didn't even need to push open the door. They saw that it was empty inside. The stone of light was destroyed, and there were only some traces of a fight left. Obviously, a fight had taken place here, but it ended very quickly, so there weren't many traces left. The Death Clan is gone. Elder Guangyao must have sensed something was wrong, so he rushed over. Their faces were so gloomy that it was almost dripping water. Their hearts were in great pain. Not only did they lose the treasures, but even the Death Clan was gone, including Elder Guangyao's life. This was undoubtedly a great loss. The price of cultivating a Grand Star Venerable was too high. Now, they had lost 2 Grand Star Venerables in a row, which was a great loss for the Mu clan. Who on earth sneaked in? He managed to escape our sight and kill Elder Guangyao. I don't think there are more than 5 such experts on the Red Moon planet. But who do we have a grudge against? Why did we attract such a powerful enemy? Could it be the Death Clan? A chill ran down their spines, and they felt an incomparable chill. The Death Clan did have super experts, but they usually didn't show up. However, it was different for them to capture Kong Yue. They might have sneaked in to save her. It's unlikely to be the Death Clan. We snatched her from the Feng Clan, so it should be the Feng Clan who sent someone here. But does the Feng Clan have such a powerful existence? Wait, let's check the energy fluctuations here first. Then, they heaved a sigh of relief after inspecting it. It's definitely not the Death Clan. The fighting aura isn't left by the Death Clan. If it's not the Death Clan, who could it be? Did the Feng Clan really send someone here? No matter what, we must check it thoroughly. If the Feng Clan didn't send someone here, it would be difficult. Not only did we offend the Feng Clan, but we also lost a member of the Death Clan. It's a great loss. They felt like vomiting blood. They had paid a high price, but the person was gone. Wasn't it a great loss? They looked for traces quickly to see if they could find any clues. They even sealed off the outside so that not even a fly could slip away. However, it was meaningless. After killing the brilliant star Venerate, Tianyun used the teleportation divine stone to slip away. He had achieved his goal, so he didn't have to fight against the remaining brilliant star Venerates. It was difficult and inconvenient, so it was better to leave. After being teleported outside, Tianyun let Kong Yue out. In this space-time, Yu's hair was a bit messy. A gust of wind revealed her beautiful face, and her pitch-black eyes were filled with shock. She believed it this time. She believed that Tianyun had come to save her and hated the Mu clan. Tianyun let her see what was happening outside on purpose. Normally, he wouldn't let her see what was happening outside. When Tianyun saw the brilliant star Venerate rushing over, he let her see the whole process. Chapter 2173. We escaped just like that? Kong Yue stared blankly at her surroundings. She didn't know what had happened, but they had escaped. After killing the glorious great star Venerate, she saw a blur, and then she arrived in the outside world. It was obvious that this was not the Mu family's home. She couldn't figure out how she managed to escape from the Mu family so easily. Yes, we escaped. Since I could sneak in, I know how to escape. The price must be high, but it's worth it to kill a grand star Venerate. Tianyun smiled. Seeing that Kong Yue was not on guard against him, he felt this arrangement was right, and the effect was the best. He could make Kong Yue trust him completely, which was killing two birds with one stone. He had wanted to clean up the Mu family, and killing a grand star Venerate was just a bonus. While he was thinking about how to make Kong Yue trust him, the glorious great star Venerate happened to come in. Wasn't he helping him? Anyway, thank you very much, young master. By the way, I'm Kong Yue. May I know your name, young master? Kong Yue tidied up her hair and tied it behind her, revealing her beautiful face. Tianyun was immune to this kind of beauty. Anyway, people with high cultivation would not look bad. At this stage, what mattered was not the appearance, but the heart. Tianyun. Tianyun's eyes flashed. He was a grand star Venerate, so Kong Yue should call him Lord. However, she called him young master, which meant she was talking to him as an equal. It meant her status was not simple, and she must have seen many grand star Venerates. But it made sense. The members of the Death Clan were all amazing, and they must have seen a lot of things. So it's young Master E. I will repay your great kindness. However, I have something to do now. If possible, I'll leave first. When things are settled, I will come back to you to repay you. When Kong Yue said these words, she still felt a little embarrassed. She had just saved her, and now she had to leave. What kind of repayment was this? As for what repayment was, only the heavens knew when it would happen. Therefore, she looked at Tianyun's expression. After all, he was a grand star venerable who had saved her. The situation depends on Tianyun's words. I wonder what urgent matter Miss Kong has? If it's possible, I can still help you. Tianyun's eyes lit up. For her to be so anxious, it must be related to the Death Clan. If he helped out, he would definitely be able to establish a good relationship with the Death Clan. When the time came, it would be much easier to get the Death Clan's help. Kong Yeyue paused for a moment. Soon after, she did not think too much about it as she nodded her head and said, "Then I will have to trouble young Master Yi. I will definitely reward you handsomely." Kong Yeyue had already determined that Yi Tianyun was someone she could trust. Since Yi Tianyun was willing to help her, she could not let this opportunity slip by. "It's no trouble at all. Everyone has their needs," Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. "Everyone has their needs?" Kong Yeyue was stunned. "I'm definitely helping you because there's something I need your help with. Of course, if you help me save some people, I will give you an extra reward. I won't let you do it for nothing." Yi Tianyun directly put forward the request, but when the time comes, it cannot be implemented, it will be embarrassing. So, it's this matter. As long as their cultivation is not too high or they have already reincarnated, I can help to save them. Compared to saving me, the price is nothing. Kong Yeyue thought Yi Tianyun wanted to say something. This was what they were most familiar with. It would be easier for them to do such a thing. "Alright. Then, Miss Kong, what do you need me to do?" Yi Tianyun asked directly. "It's a little complicated. It's related to our Death Clan." Kong Yeyue looked around and said, "Let's talk as we walk. Time is tight." Yi Tianyun nodded and flew forward, listening to Kong Yeyue's explanation. "Young Master Yi should know about our Death Clan, right? We have always been hidden from the world. If you want to find us, you can only find us through acquaintances, or if we come looking for you. Otherwise, it is impossible to find us." Kong Yeyue's face suddenly turned cold, and her tone was filled with killing intent. But one day, our situation changed. Suddenly, a group of experts came and seemed to know our situation. While our elders were not around, they directly killed their way in and captured many of our clansmen. At the same time, our Death Clan also fled. Could there be a mole? Yi Tianyun frowned. "Impossible, there can't be a mole in our Death Clan." Kong Yeyue shook her head resolutely. "Our situation is still very clear. There can't be a mole. At present, there is only one possibility, and that is someone who has a good relationship with us. This is really a careless friend." Yi Tianyun nodded. It is quite common to be stabbed by a so-called friend. No wonder Kong Yeyue didn't trust him at will. After such a thing happened, how could she trust others at will? It is estimated that if it is not necessary, she would not bring Yi Tianyun with her. She only trusted that Yi Tianyun was not a member of the Mujia, but she did not completely trust him. To be able to become an old friend of the Death Clan, their relationship must be very good. It is really disappointing to be betrayed under such circumstances. But we don't know who it is. What we need to do now is to quickly find our clansmen, gather them first, and at the same time rescue our clansmen. Kong Yeyue thought for a while and said, "Young Master Yi, you only need to help me find my clansmen. As for rescuing our clansmen, you don't need to help. I don't know which force you belong to, but if you rescue our clansmen, you will definitely become enemies with other families. Forget about that, so as not to bring danger to young Master Yi." Kong Yeyue was thinking for Yi Tianyun. If he helped to rescue his clansmen, he would definitely become enemies with other families and bring enemies to his force. It seems that Miss Kong was caught because of this? Yi Tianyun roughly knew what was going on. No wonder someone from the Death Clan was caught wandering outside. There was indeed a problem with the Death Clan. Otherwise, how could such a situation occur? Yes, otherwise, how would the world know where we are hiding? Kong Yeyue sighed and said, "It is a little difficult for me to find them alone, so I need to rely on young Master Yi's help. I wonder if young Master Yi is willing to help?" Chapter 2174. Kong Yeyue was taken aback. She had not expected Yi Tianyun to say something like that. After all, even though Yi Tianyun was a great star venerable, he was alone. Even if the other party could not recognize him, he would still be in great danger. If they were not careful, they would be surrounded and killed. At that time, he might die, and at the same time, his identity would be exposed. Then, the situation would become very serious. This would implicate their own faction, and they would be surrounded and attacked. The impact would be very bad. However, Lee Tianyun said this, as if he did not care about the big picture. Young Master Yi, thank you for your kindness. However, this will bring you and your faction grave consequences. I only hope that you can help us find some of our clansmen. We will take care of the rest. Kong Yue was very grateful to Lee Tianyun. Even though Lee Tianyun said he was here for her ability, she was still very grateful. After all, ability was ability. Many factions did not want to lose their subordinates for this ability. She had asked them for help to revive their subordinates. It was not worth it for more people to die for the sake of their abilities. Miss Kong, thank you for your reminder. I am very clear about the consequences. In any case, if the situation is not right, I will choose to back out. How about it? Lee Tianyun smiled. In fact, he did not want to back out. He wanted to do something big. However, Kong Yue was quite kind. It did not mean that she was extremely evil just because she had dark attribute energy. If he had to consider it, he would still consider it. From what he knew, the Death Clan was not bad by nature. However, he did not know the details. They were a hidden clan. If he delved deeper, he would not know much about them. All right. Kong Yue nodded and continued flying forward. At the same time, she said, let's go to the places where our companions are scattered. I can sense where they are. Lee Tianyun was a little surprised. He did not expect them to have this kind of ability to sense where their companions were. Kong Yue seemed to know what Lee Tianyun was thinking. She explained, this is a special ability of our Death Clan. We can sense each other's location. If it was too far away or if it was sealed, it would be impossible to sense it. Basically, all I can sense now are the clansmen who are safe. As for the clansmen who have been captured, I'll have to slowly search for them. Kong Yue was not worried that this secret would be exposed. To her, this was not a secret. Moreover, Lee Tianyun had already helped them. If they were to randomly find a companion, how could they not at least have some explanation? I see. Lee Tianyun nodded in realization. Someone is coming, young Master Yi, let me hide. Kong Yue said hurriedly. Lee Tianyun did not say anything. He stretched out his hand and pulled Kong Yue into the space in his body. Sure enough, when she was in the space in his body, he saw a group of people rushing over. They were all star venerates, and the strongest was a star venerate. They seemed to be searching for something. When they saw Lee Tianyun, they only glanced at him for a while before moving to the side, not bothering with him. Along the way, they saw many cultivators. They could not look for trouble with everyone they saw. After they left, Kong Yue was released again. She had asked Lee Tianyun for help so that she could hide and not be discovered by others. These people should be searching for our Death Clan. The whole Red Moon planet is probably searching for our Death Clan. If they can catch one, it is one. If they have a good attitude, they will be treated better. If they are not. Kong Yue shook her head. She was treated poorly. These people are interested in your abilities. Your abilities are too tempting. If they can save their clansmen, they can only do this. Lee Tianyun shrugged. Not to mention them, even Lee Tianyun was interested in this. He was not that kind to save people for no reason. Unless the actions of that force really made him feel very displeased, he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to it. Yes, but our abilities are not invincible. It is not like we don't have to pay a price. The key is that their demands are endless. There are too many people who want to resurrect. We are not weak, but we can't do that. Kong Yue's eyes were cold as she recalled the past. In the past, there were forces that captured our clansmen and forced them to summon their souls back to us. Only when our clansmen were completely drained did they stop forcing us. Young Master Yi, how much do you know about our abilities? Kong Yue asked as she flew forward with Lee Tianyun. I don't know much. It is about the same as what most people know. I only know that you can help resurrect. Lee Tianyun said honestly. Yes, our abilities are basically like that. But who knows how high the price we have to pay? The more people we resurrect, the greater the impact on our cultivation and soul. Most importantly, if we summon too many souls, we will never be able to reincarnate after we die. We will disappear from this world forever. This is why our death clan has fewer and fewer people. This is the effect of excessive resurrection. The most ironic thing is that we can't summon the souls of our clansmen. Even if we can resurrect other races, we can't resurrect our clansmen. Kong Yeyue smiled bitterly. This was the most embarrassing part. Ordinary people thought that they could resurrect endlessly. It was impossible for their companions to die. They could summon them back if they died. Now it seemed that was not the case. Their own clansmen couldn't be resurrected. They could only watch helplessly as their companions died. Yi Tianyun fell silent. He knew that the price would not be low, but he didn't expect it to be so. After excessive resurrection, they would never be able to reincarnate. No matter what life it was, they would still die when they were born in this world. It was just a matter of time. After death, they would enter reincarnation. The Death Clan was different. After excessive resurrection, they would not be able to reincarnate. It meant that they would disappear forever. Your clansmen have become so few. Didn't you know the result before? Yi Tianyun asked. We knew it a long time ago. But in the war a long time ago, our Death Clan also paid a lot. Kong Yeyue looked up at the dark starry sky and said lightly, that was the War of the Emperors. As the 5-color Emperor Dragon's divine generals, in order to win the war, we kept resurrecting the dead divine generals. In the end, our Death Clan kept disappearing. Chapter 2175. Yi Tianyun did not expect the Death Clan to be related to the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. He did not have the 5-colored Emperor Dragon's memories, but in theory he was the same as the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. This meant that the Death Clan was related to him. It was the same as the Ghana Patriarch. They would follow the descendants of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. Doesn't this mean that the Death Clan is my subordinate? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He had only wanted to build a good relationship with the Death Clan, but he had not expected it to change so quickly. They had become his subordinates. Of course, many years had passed, so he did not know the Death Clan's true thoughts. Perhaps they had too few clansmen and did not want to participate in any power struggles. No matter what, he did not want to reveal his identity. He wanted to help her find her clansmen first. Ding! You have successfully accepted the main quest. Save the undead clan and take them under your command. Reward: 5 billion star energy, 10,000 good deeds, a super rare treasure, random, and 3 system evolution points. The main quest that popped up made Yi Tianyun's eyes light up. The main quest had finally appeared. After completing the main quest, there had been no corresponding quests. Now, a quest had finally appeared, and it was related to the Death Clan. It happened to coincide with his itinerary. Do you regret it? Yi Tianyun thought for a bit and decided to ask about the situation first. Regret? How could we regret it? We will always be the 5-colored Emperor Dragon's generals. Kong Yeyue's expression became serious. Let's not talk about this. I can already sense our clansmen hiding nearby. Let's go and help them. Kong Yeyue brought Yi Tianyun and flew forward. After a big circle, they finally arrived at the place where her clansmen were hiding, Star Gathering City. This was a good city on planet Crimson Moon. There were many practitioners, so it was normal for the Death Clan to choose to hide here. The more people there were, the safer they would be. In the vast sea of people, it would be difficult to find them if they blended in. Kong Yeyue's aura had already been concealed. On the surface, nothing could be seen. Even if someone tried to investigate, it would not be easy to find them. The fact that the Death Clan was able to hide for so long without being discovered meant that they definitely had their own methods. Now, Kong Yeyue's method was not bad. Not to mention her aura, even her hair color had changed. All of a sudden, it was as if he had turned into another race. He couldn't recognize him at all. If it wasn't for the appraisal eyes, Yi Tianyun wouldn't have known that Kong Yeyue was from the Death Clan. Your abilities are pretty good. Even I can't see through your disguises. How could you be caught like this? Yi Tianyun found it very strange. Based on this situation, even if they split up, it would not be easy to find them. Under normal circumstances, it's impossible to find them. However, they have a special method. Kong Yeyue paused for a moment before continuing. They use the light stones that can restrain our attributes. As long as they are of a high enough grade, coupled with some treasures, they can easily be found when they cover a certain area. Kong Yeyue didn't want to say it at first, but after thinking about it, it wasn't a secret anymore. If no one knew, she wouldn't have been caught. Light stones, so that's how it is. Yi Tianyun suddenly understood. He really didn't think of this. He didn't want to catch anyone, so he naturally wouldn't think too much about it. After thinking about it carefully, he knew how to get rid of it. Moreover, he had the appraisal eyes, so he was too lazy to think of such a method. Moreover, the coverage was very poor. To him, it was a failed method. It should be in this area. Let's go. Kong Yeyue continued to fly forward with Yi Tianyun. They didn't fly for long before they saw many cultivators in front of them. They didn't know what they were watching. At the same time, there were waves of energy fluctuations in front of them. It seemed like there was an intense battle going on. Not only that, Yi Tianyun also saw a light that covered a large area. Without a doubt, the Death Clan had been discovered. Oh no, our clansmen have been found. Kong Yeyue was anxious. She wanted to fly over quickly, but she was stopped by Yi Tianyun. Leave it to me. If you go out, won't your identity be exposed? You just need to contact that clansman and ask him to come to me. Don't attack me too. Yi Tianyun told her not to act rashly. He glanced over and found many star venerables fluctuations in front of them. For Kong Yeyue, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of them. So, he could deal with them and he had to finish them quickly. If the Grand Star Venerables came to help, it would be bad. But Kong Yeyue didn't waste time. She hid in the space inside Yi Tianyun's body right away. Yi Tianyun waved his hand, and a gray aura appeared on his face. No one could recognize him unless they were extremely powerful Grand Star Venerables. After concealing himself to a certain extent, he quickly flew forward and passed through the onlooking cultivators. Sure enough, the Death Clan was in front of him. However, there were two people from the Death Clan. Both of them were star venerables with high cultivation. They worked together to resist the attacks of many cultivators. It was obvious that they were from the same clan. They weren't in a hurry. They besieged the Death Clan from all directions. They wanted to fight steadily and surely. It seemed they were waiting for the Grand Star Venerables' reinforcements. As long as the Grand Star Venerables came, they would definitely succeed. It would be safer to escort them back. Every clan had some enemies, so they had to be on guard. If they were careless, they would be robbed. For example, the Mu clan had a grudge against the Feng clan. They had forcefully robbed the Feng clan of Kong Yeyue, who they had worked so hard for. Anyway, they already had a grudge against them, so they didn't mind offending them further. My friends, come back with us. We will treat you well. We won't mistreat you. The leader of the Star Venerables looked at the two Death Clan members with a smile. It was really a good thing to get two of them at once. Do you think we are fools? If we go back with you, we won't be able to come out again, Ding Xiangyue, the leader of the group, retorted coldly. At the same time, he resisted the attacks coming at him. Do you think you have any other choice? The leader of the Star Venerables had a gloomy look in his eyes. Like a smiling tiger, he said, "If you go back with us, you will still have a chance to live. Otherwise, when we use force, you won't be so easy to deal with." They were determined to capture the Death Clan. They wouldn't let them go. Besides, even if they didn't capture them, other clans would come to capture them. The Death Clan was like a fat sheep. Once they appeared in the eyes of the world, they would be ruthlessly targeted. Chapter 2176. The Death Clan would never be let off. They would only be hunted down. Unless the Death Clan had a super strong expert to protect all clansmen, they would be hunted down forever. It was the same principle as weak forces. They would be exploited as long as they didn't have a strong expert to protect them. If they had a strong expert to protect them, they wouldn't be exploited and other forces would offer them offerings. It was the same principle for the Death Clan. However, they were special in that they would be punished for their treasures. They had such a special ability, which meant they had a treasure mountain. Without a strong expert to protect them, they would be hunted down forever. A long time ago, the blood essence of the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan had always been the target of cultivators for the same reason. If they went back with the practitioners of those clans, they wouldn't be able to escape. They would be exploited until they died. If they didn't have any value, they would be killed. It was as simple as that. This was a cruel world. Without power, one could only wait for death. In that case, let's see whether you can stop us or not. Ding Xiangyue and the others gnashed their teeth and started to attack fiercely. However, even though they were from the Death Clan, their power was limited. Their cultivation was still low, and it would be difficult for them to break through. However, if they risked their lives, they would still have a chance. At least, they would have a chance before the Grand Star Venerables arrived. Surround them. The leader of the Star Venerables looked at Ding Xiangyue and the others disdainfully. The Death Clan was strong, but it was limited to resurrection. Although they were good at other things, they were outnumbered, so they had to surrender to them. However, in order to capture them in one piece, they had to be cowardly. They kept surrounding them and trapping them to death. Under the attack of so many Star Venerables, the range in which Ding Xiangyue and the others could move was shrinking. Soon, it became a small area. If it went on like this, they would be captured. Ding Xiangyue and the others were unwilling to accept this. However, no matter how they attacked, they couldn't resist the encirclement of so many Star Venerables. If it goes on like this, we will be captured. Are we going to be captured alive? Elder Sister Ding, I will sacrifice myself so that you can escape. A young man next to her had a resolute look in his eyes. There was a fierce look in his eyes. Ding Xiangyue shouted hurriedly, if you sacrifice yourself, you will die. We've been captured, but if the elders return, they can still save us. God knows what will happen in the future. The elders have been missing for so long. They might have been surrounded. If the two of us are captured, by the time the elders come to save us, we'll probably be dead. Hong Yuan shook his head as a terrifying deathly aura emerged from his body. It was as if he was about to unleash some ultimate technique. Hong, you can't. Ding Xiangyue wanted to stop Hong Yuan, but the net of light enveloping them prevented her from doing so. Big Sister Ding, you have to find the princess. Hong Yuan smiled slightly. Just as he was about to attack, a figure suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. The figure tore the net of light apart and grabbed both of them. Go. Before anyone could see the figure clearly, he had already taken the person away. It's a great Star Venerable. Ding Xiangyue and the others' hearts sank. When they sensed the person who had caught them, they felt even more despair. How could he escape now? This was especially so for Hong Yuan. Now, even if he sacrificed himself, he wouldn't be able to escape with the others. There was no way to resist the power of a Grand Star Venerate. What? The pupils of the leading Star Venerable shrank. Their encirclement net had been torn apart easily like a piece of paper. When he came to himself, he shouted angrily, "Don't go!" They exerted their killing moves right away. The grabbing attack turned into an offensive formation. It turned into a giant sharp arrow that pierced through the figure. The sharp arrow, which could pierce through the sky, caught up with the figure in the blink of an eye. However, the figure slapped the arrow back with a backhand. The sharp arrow turned in the air and whizzed toward the Star Venerates. Before they could react, several Star Venerates were pierced through and nailed to the ground. They died right away. It's a great Star Venerable. When the cultivators in the surroundings sensed that energy fluctuation, they all gasped. Although it was only a slight fluctuation, it was definitely the energy of a great Star Venerable. They hadn't expected it to be a great Star Venerable who had come to capture them. Damn it! Where did this great Star Venerable come from? He got here before us. They shouted angrily. Not only had their companions died, but they had also lost 2 members of the Death Clan. They were both angry and unwilling to accept this outcome. They had been worried that a great Star Venerable would come to capture them. They hadn't expected it to be true. A great Star Venerable had really come to capture them. They didn't even know what that great Star Venerable looked like. They could only watch him escape. Just when they thought that they could only watch helplessly as they were snatched away, a thick wall of light suddenly appeared in the distant void, sealing off the surroundings and forcibly trapping the people inside. It's Elder Air Rue. When they saw this familiar attack, they shouted in pleasant surprise. Finally, the elder they had been waiting for had come to support them. It was their clan's Elder Air Rue, who was in the intermediate stage of the Grand Star Venerable Realm. He had rushed over as soon as he had received the request for support. Another Great Star Venerable has come. It seems he isn't one of us. If they fight each other, we might be able to escape. Hong Yuan and the others were delighted. They had seen two enemies. If both sides ended up injured, they might have a chance to take advantage of it. Calm down. He's the one who saved us. Let's follow his power and come in. A familiar voice reached their ears. They were taken aback, but they didn't think much about it. They followed Yi Tianyun's power and were taken into the space within their bodies. When they entered and saw Kong Yue, they were overjoyed. It's senior sister Kong. Let's get out of here first. Kong Yue nodded. I didn't expect it to be one of us. We thought it would be a dog-eat-dog fight. But it won't be easy to escape now. A Great Star Venerable has come. It won't be easy to leave. Ding Xiangyue and the others started to worry. Don't worry. He can take us out of here. Kong Yue was confident in Yi Tianyun. She had experienced Yi Tianyun's power and knew what he was capable of. Even if they couldn't kill him, they could at least escape. Yi Tianyun was outside. Facing Great Star Venerable Air Rui, who had intercepted him, he said calmly, "What do you mean?" Chapter 2177. Great Star Venerate Air Rui was straightforward. Even if his opponent was a Great Star Venerate, he would not care. He would not show mercy to anyone who tried to snatch his people. Normally, he would be polite. But it was different now. This was a crucial moment. If the Death Clan was strong enough, they could even revive their Great Star Venerates. That would be great news. Most clans captured the Death Clan to save Great Star Venerates, or even late-stage Star Venerates. Or it could be said that it was a super genius who had fallen. These were all possibilities, especially super geniuses who died at a young age. They were assassinated or died in accidents. They could have reached the Great Star Venerate level, but they died like that. How could they not feel pity? But it was different now. If the Death Clan could save those geniuses, they would be able to recover their losses. Those geniuses were all level 6 celestial materializations. With a large amount of resources, they would definitely become Great Star Venerates. That was why they wanted to capture the Death Clan so crazily. They did not have to revive Great Star Venerates. After all, some members of the Death Clan were not strong enough and could only revive those with lower cultivation. Those with higher cultivation would not be able to do anything. Your people didn't capture the Death Clan. I should be the one who captured them. Are you trying to snatch them? Yi Tianyun stopped and observed Great Star Venerate Air. At the same time, he looked around to see if there were any helpers. You don't even dare show your face. You're a Great Star Venerate. You've lived like a dog. Great Star Venerate Air mocked him. Then he said, "You're afraid of offending our faction? If you know what's good for you, just show your face. I won't argue with you." Great Star Venerate Air was not afraid of Yi Tianyun, but he had achieved his goal. Fighting a Great Star Venerate head-on was not a good choice. Although Yi Tianyun was only in the early stage of Great Star Venerate, who knew if there was someone else behind him? You must have misunderstood something. I'm not afraid of offending you. I just don't want to show my face. If I show my face and get discovered, you'll run away the moment you see me. That won't be fun. Tianyun laughed and said, "To be precise, all the forces." How arrogant! I've seen many Great Star Venerables, but I've never seen one as arrogant as you. Great Star Venerable Rear sneered. Then show me how strong you are. Great Star Venerate Rear had finished storing up power long ago. He had said so much just to set up defenses in the surroundings so that he could trap Yi Tianyun there and prevent him from escaping. The next second, a level 6 Star Dharma idol appeared behind Great Star Venerable Rear, eight-armed divine ape. The huge eight-armed divine ape had 8 arms, and it instantly fused with Great Star Venerate Rear. It had 8 extra arms, and each of them held a different weapon. It looked very ferocious. Since he could cultivate to the level of a Grand Star Venerable, his celestial dermic body would not be weak. It would definitely be at the 6th level. A 5th-grade Star Dharma idol was nothing in this place. 33 blocks of astral power emerged above his head and enveloped the area. So, it's a monkey. Quite impressive. Yi Tianyun said coldly, "You didn't degenerate, yet you came out to fight. Then go back and cultivate properly." The next moment, Yi Tianyun also exerted all his power. 4 figures quickly appeared behind him, but he did not use the 7-colored Emperor Dragon Star Dharma idol. If he used the 7-colored Emperor Dragon, covering his face would be meaningless. Such a special Star Dharma idol could be easily found out with a little investigation. There was no point in covering his face. Although he could not use the 7-colored Emperor Dragon Star Dharma idol, he could use other Star Dharma idols. As a level 4 Star Dharma idol, he could use 4 kinds of Star Dharma idols. Not only could he use 4 kinds of Star Dharma idols, but he could also devour the astral power of 4 people. However, there was only one person in front of him, so he would still devour it. Even if he did not use his unique Star Dharma idol, he could still devour it. A huge figure appeared in the air and bit down heavily. It devoured 1/3 of Great Star Venerate Rear's astral power. This meant that he had devoured 11% of the 33 cubic meters of astral power. Then, he converted all of it into astral power that he could use. That was the key. He could not convert it completely before, mainly because the astral power level was too high in the later stages, so the amount provided was too much. He did not use his unique Star Dharma idol now, which meant that he could not use astral power. He could only use astral power if he used his Star Dharma idol. Otherwise, he would not have been able to suppress Mu Yangsu. He would have crushed her Star Dharma idol to death, so that she could not even release astral power. In order to hide his Star Dharma idol now, he could only use this move. Even if he could use other Star Dharma idols, he could not use astral power. That was his biggest weakness. His real Star Dharma idol was the 7-colored Emperor Dragon. No matter how many others he had, they could only be used for effects. Fortunately, all 4 Star Dharma idols had additional effects. For example, the Starlight Deity and other Star Dharma idols with similar effects were all used at once. Together with the Sky Burning Suit, the effect was to soar to 25 points of astral power. When he did not use his Star Dharma idol, he was even stronger than Great Elder Riel when he used his Star Dharma idol. What ability is this? Great Star Venerable Riel was still shocked by Yi Tianyun's ability. A large portion of his astral power disappeared inexplicably, which greatly weakened his power. Yi Tianyun did not bother to explain anything. He went up to Great Star Venerable Riel immediately. 4 Star Dharma idols flickered behind him, making it hard for people to figure them out. In this state, it confused them even more. They could not see what Star Dharma idol it was, so it was difficult for them to recognize who it was. Some cultivators were disdainful of Yi Tianyun covering his face. They thought it was stupid. Unless he did not use his Star Dharma idol, he would be easily recognized as long as he used his Star Dharma idol. Were there many Great Star Venerables with level 6 Star Dharma idols on planet Red Moon? As long as they did not hide in the deep mountains and forests, they would be easily recognized. Now it seemed that they were wrong. His Star Dharma idol seemed a bit strange. It seemed like it had erupted, but it also seemed like it had not completely erupted yet. They were all dumbfounded. Radiant subduing killing fist. Yi Tianyun brandished his fist and punched down heavily. The power of his crazy mode was quickly stacked, and its might increased greatly. He punched at Great Star Venerable Riel, who had turned into an 8-armed divine ape. Dong! Chapter 2178. Everyone was shocked to see Great Star Venerate Rear being sent flying. He was defeated just like that? His opponent didn't use the Star Dermic aspect, did he? That's not right. If he doesn't use the star dermic aspect, how can he use stellar power? But he can't use stellar power so little. He's a great star venerate after all. His stellar power can't be so little. What's going on? I can't see the star dermic aspect either. Is he hiding it? There's such a method? Hiding the star dermic aspect and using stellar power at the same time? What kind of ability is this? The cultivators in the surroundings discussed it. They had never seen such a heaven-defying move. Under normal circumstances, using stellar power would expose one's identity. This was inevitable, and no one could change it. However, Tianyun had overturned their previous thinking. He could really use stellar power while hiding the star dermic aspect. Perhaps he could only use a small portion of his power because he was hiding it. There were gains and losses. What they did not know was that Tianyun had not used the star dermic aspect at all. He had purely used the star dermic aspects of others. At the same time, Great Star Venerate Rear fell to the ground. There was a large dent in his body, which had been caused by Tianyun's punch. Even though he had a strong body, Great Star Venerate Rear was still heavily injured by the powerful force. What great power! Great Star Venerate Rear's face turned pale. He had not expected his opponent to have so many tricks up his sleeve. More importantly, it seemed like his opponent had not used the star dermic aspect. This meant that he had been underestimated. He had not even used the star dermic aspect. How could he not be underestimating him? Tianyun did not wait for him to catch his breath. He charged up to him and looked down at him. He said calmly, "Now, do I have the right to be arrogant?" Bastard! Great Star Venerate Rear would not compromise. After he shouted furiously, he quickly gathered the power in his body and wanted to use it. Tianyun would not give him the chance to do so. He had not rushed over to talk to him, but to finish him off. Before Great Star Venerable Rear bounced up, he had already drawn his blade and thrust it down heavily. It easily penetrated Great Star Venerable Rear's defense and nailed him to the ground. This weapon was naturally the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber. He was not afraid of being recognized. After all, this was the first time this weapon was displayed here. Even if it was seen, no one would know what weapon it was. Great Star Venerate Rear felt a piercing pain in his soul as the blade pierced through him. He felt a terrifying soul power quickly suppressing him and wreaking havoc on his soul. All of a sudden, he felt that his consciousness was about to disappear. When one's consciousness disappeared, it meant that they would forever disappear from this world. No. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Great Star Venerable Rear did not care about his reputation and started begging for mercy. He did not want to die there. Admit defeat? I'm sorry, but this isn't an ordinary battle. This is a battle to the death. The Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber in Tianyun's hand spun quickly. With his soul bloodline fully activated, a wave of power surged forward and crushed Great Star Venerable Rear's consciousness. At the same time, it also crushed Great Star Venerable Rear's body. When it was time to be ruthless, Tianyun would not show mercy. Great Star Venerable Rear's soul was left behind. However, Great Star Venerable Rear's consciousness was no longer in this soul. It was just a mass of energy. He would not let go of a Great Star Venerable soul. It would be a major material for puppets in the future. Ding! Successfully killed Great Star Venerable Rear. Obtained 1 billion star energy points and 1,000 slaughter points. Obtained 8-armed Divine Ape Star Dermic Aspect, Level 6, Level 4. 8-armed Divine Ape Bloodline, 8-armed Limbs, Rare. 8-armed Limbs. Additional galaxy-grade equipment that can be equipped. It is equivalent to having 8 more arms and can control various weapons. At the same time, it can be forged to increase their power. Tianyun's eyes lit up when he saw the 8-armed limbs. He had not expected such a treasure to drop. This way, he would be able to equip it and fight against enemies in the future. 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. After equipping the 8-armed limbs, he would have 10 hands. After killing Great Star Venerable Rear, Tianyun quickly left, leaving behind a group of dumbfounded cultivators. Especially those from the same clan as Great Star Venerable Rear. They were frozen in the air. Their elder had died. They had thought they could save the situation, but they had not expected him to die. This made them feel like they had been struck by lightning. Despair filled their hearts. The other cultivators had witnessed the great star venerable's death. It had happened so quickly that they had not been able to react. Logically speaking, a battle between great star venerables should not have been settled so easily. It should have taken a long time. No one had expected it to end so quickly. It had been an overwhelming victory. Thinking back to what Yi Tianyun had said, maybe he had masked not because he did not dare to show his face, but because he did not want those clans to run away when they saw him. Given his strength, why would he need to run? Why would he worry about making trouble? Anyone who saw him would run away. In the space inside Yi Tianyun's body, Kong Yue and the others were also dumbfounded. He had not even used the Star Dharma Laksana, and he had already killed his opponent? How did he do it? Senior Sister Kong, your helper is a bit fierce. This? Kong Yue said embarrassedly, I did not expect this. Isn't he the helper you invited? You don't know? Ding Xiangyue and the others were shocked. They had thought Kong Yue was familiar with Yi Tianyun. It's a long story. I'll explain it to you. Kong Yue told them the general story of how she was rescued, which really gave Ding Xiangyue and the others a fright. They didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. It just so happened that Yi Tianyun had a grudge against the Mu clan, so he saved Kong Yue. Otherwise, she would have been trapped inside. That's the gist of it. I asked him to help me find my companions. He was the first to sense you too, so he came to look for you. Who knew that you would be surrounded, so he helped, Kong Yue said. Now we really owe him a big favor. Ding Xiangyue thought for a while and said, I wonder how we can repay him. Yes, he asked us to help him resurrect his companions as a way to repay him. But this is far from enough. Kong Yue shook her head and smiled bitterly. As long as he can help us and save our clansmen, we will definitely repay him. Hong Yuan said confidently. We, the Death Clan, have a strong foundation. We can give him whatever he wants. Little Hong, you're thinking too simply. There are some things that can't be resolved with ordinary repayment, Kong Yue murmured. As long as he can find the princess, I am willing to be his slave for the rest of my life. I will do whatever he asks of me. Hong Yuan gritted his teeth and said, This is how I repay him. Chapter 2179. Tianyun quickly retreated from the outside, so he naturally heard the conversation in the space inside his body. It wasn't that he wanted to eavesdrop, but it was impossible for him not to know what they were talking about in the space inside his body, unless he deliberately isolated it. This kid is a little interesting. Yi Tianyun smiled. He felt that Hong Yuan had a unique personality, and his name was familiar. He guessed that his name was similar to some people in the mortal world. There were so many cultivators, so it was normal for their names to be similar. Therefore, he had a deeper impression of Hong Yuan. He was absolutely genuine and extremely loyal to the Death Clan. No wonder Kong Yue said that there would be no traitors in the Death Clan. With their personalities, there wouldn't be any traitors. They were willing to sacrifice themselves at any time. This spirit alone was enough to prove that they were extremely united. While they were discussing, Yi Tianyun quickly found a safe place to land and let them out. Thank you for saving us, Lord. Once Ding Xiangyue and the others were released, they were extremely grateful to Yi Tianyun. They didn't call him young master Yi like Kong Yue did. You're welcome. This is what Miss Kong asked me to do. I have completed her task, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This is different. No matter what, we have to thank you for saving our lives. If it weren't for you, both of us would have been captured. Ding Xiangyue and the others shook their heads. They felt that Yi Tianyun was being modest. Perhaps it was because they wanted what they needed, but who could save them like Yi Tianyun? The others were forced to do so. He could just capture them and resurrect them. There was no need to go through so much trouble. Just the way he treated them was enough to win their respect. Let's put this aside for now. Where should we go to rescue them? Let's gather your people first. If we delay any longer, your people might be captured by other forces like today. Yi Tianyun's expression was solemn. The situation was quite urgent. He didn't reveal his identity. As an assistant, he would help them first. He wanted to see what the real situation of the Death Clan was now. Even though Zhang Xian had learned part of the situation from Kong Yiyue, it was better to take a look at the situation of the entire Death Clan first. Kong Yiyue and the rest nodded in agreement. They were also very anxious, but no matter how anxious they were, they couldn't forget to thank Yi Tianyun. If they were in too much of a hurry, it would be rude to Yi Tianyun. Alright, let's head to the hiding place of the other clansmen. Kong Yiyue didn't waste any more time. She immediately flew forward with Yi Tianyun. She would talk about her gratitude after everything was over. Right now, they were really anxious and couldn't afford to waste a single moment. Yi Tianyun kept them into the space within his body. He would lead the way, and Kong Yiyue would just have to point the way. This way, they would travel much faster. Previously, Kong Yiyue led them personally, mainly because she wasn't that familiar with Yi Tianyun, so she felt a little embarrassed to hide in his space. Then, under Kong Yiyue's guidance, they quickly searched for the Death Clan. The whole process was very smooth. They could easily find many members of the Death Clan. Not every member of the Death Clan was found like Ding Xiangyue and the others. It depended on the situation and even more so on luck. It couldn't be helped that they happened to be found. As they slowly searched, the number of members of the Death Clan increased. Soon there were more than 50 of them. According to their understanding, there were only a few hundred members of the Death Clan. Right now, they had only found a small part of them. The reason why they found all of them was that they couldn't sense the traces of the other members of the Death Clan. Without a doubt, the Death Clan wasn't dead, nor did they disappear. They were just imprisoned, so they couldn't sense them. These families all knew the ability of the Death Clan. They knew that they could sense each other's location. Therefore, the best way was to imprison them. Of course, even if they didn't have the ability to sense each other, they would still imprison them to prevent other experts from finding them. On the way, they encountered some members of the Death Clan who were surrounded. Some were even escorted back to their families. These people were easily saved by Yi Tianyun. Sometimes Yi Tianyun just grabbed them and left. He didn't want to waste time with them anymore. No, I can't sense the other members of the Death Clan for the time being. Kong Yiyue tried to sense carefully. After carefully sensing, she didn't find any similar fluctuations. The princess, we still can't find the princess. Has the princess really been taken away? Hong Yuan carefully checked the surrounding members of the Death Clan, but he didn't find any trace of the princess. They were most worried about the princess's situation. I'm afraid that's the case. Kong Yiyue's expression was solemn. This was the only situation at the moment. What should we do? We've lost all information. If we can't find the princess, we'll be in trouble. They all looked like they were about to cry. They thought that the princess would be able to escape successfully. Now, it seemed that this wasn't the case at all. Your princess can contact the elders of the Death Clan? Yi Tianyun raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully. Not really, but the princess can open the door of death. If she is captured and forced to open the door of death, it will be terrible. Kong Yiyue shook her head and said, by then, not only will the princess die, even the world will be in chaos because of this. Maybe they won't force your princess to open the door of soul? Yi Tianyun said. No, I've thought about it for a long time these days. I feel that they are really here for the door of soul. After thinking about it, if the other party wants to resurrect their own people, they can just capture one or two of them, or ask some people to come over and pay a price. Now they are trying to disperse the Death Clan. It's possible that they are here for the door of death. Kong Yiyue's expression became serious. You may not know what the door of death represents. There are countless souls in it. If they are released at will, the world will be in chaos. Don't think that they can be resurrected just because they are released. That's impossible. These disorderly souls will turn into vengeful spirits. They can't be resurrected even if they want to. I don't know why they are doing this. Maybe it's for some special purpose. Kong Yiyue didn't have many deductions, so she couldn't guess what the other party was really thinking. The door of death. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This thing sounds so familiar. Isn't it the door of death in my inventory? Could it be that this door of death is for me to go to the area where the princess can go? No wonder she said it was dangerous. There are so many terrifying souls, how can it not be dangerous? Chapter 2180. The Door of Death. This was considered a direct contact. It seemed like his tools also existed here and could be activated as well. However, he didn't need the special ability of the Princess of the Death Clan to forcefully open the door. It was undeniably a heaven-defying ability. Is only your princess able to open the door of death? Itianyun asked. Yes, but all of us can contact the door of death. We can't open it, but it's not a problem to just contact it. Otherwise, we can't revive our souls, Kong Yue answered honestly. This wasn't a big secret, so there was nothing to hide. Speaking of which, you have the holy body of darkness, but you're not a princess? I thought you were a princess when I saw you before. Itianyun was quite curious. Kong Yue's body was so heaven-defying, but she wasn't a princess. Kong Yue fell silent and didn't explain anything. You don't know about this benefactor. Actually, Senior Kong can be a princess, but there's only one princess. However, the princess is Senior Kong's elder sister, so it's very normal for them to have a similar body type, Hong Yuan added. The princess is your elder sister. Yi Tianyun was a little confused. Logically speaking, both of them were princesses. It seemed like the title of princess was the same as the saintess. There was only one saintess, and she was the symbol of a clan. If Kong Yue was born later, she wouldn't be able to become a princess. However, as long as the princess abdicated, Kong Yue would definitely be able to take the throne. Yes, she's my elder sister. However, I don't have the ability to open the door of death, which is why I can't become a princess. Kong Yue shook her head and sighed. She wasn't jealous of her elder sister, but she felt that it was a pity that she didn't have the ability. So that's what happened. I thought that only a princess could have the ability to open the door of death. It seems like how many people can open it? Itianyun asked. Indeed, only a princess can open it. However, in history, there have been 2 clansmen who could open the door of death. It can be said that becoming a princess will definitely open the door to death, Kong Yue explained. Looks like we really have to find your princess as soon as possible. Otherwise, if something happens, there'll be nothing we can do. Itianyun nodded and felt that the situation was indeed quite serious. If they really opened the gate of death and allowed a large number of souls to come out, it might really bring disaster to the world. But now, we don't have the slightest clue. We can only find out by investigating some information. For example, find out which force has captured the Death Clan. That way, we might have a chance to find them. The Death Clan had been imprisoned, so it was extremely difficult to find them. They could only search for information. As long as they knew which faction had captured the Death Clan, they would be able to head over to rescue them. Even if the one they rescued wasn't the princess, they were still their own clansmen. This method was rather old-fashioned, but it was the only way at the moment. If the other party was extremely secretive, then there was nothing he could do. This is indeed a way, but the efficiency is too low. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Yes, but there's no other way. We don't have any other way. Kong Yue and the others were all in despair. After going around in circles, it felt like they were still at the starting point. Yi Tianyun nodded. That was true. At the same time, he was thinking about how to increase the efficiency. Thinking about it carefully, there really wasn't any. He wanted to use the lucky aura to find them, but the efficiency was also very low. He couldn't really find them just by flying around. After all, the area here was too big. It wasn't that easy to find them. The focus of the lucky aura was to go to a certain area and use it to find them. Like a headless fly, it would probably be difficult to find them. Lucky draw. Itianyun's eyes lit up. He remembered that he had accumulated 10,000 good and evil points, but he hadn't used it yet. Using this, he might be able to draw something related. Especially with the lucky aura, it would be even easier to use. Wait a minute. Let me think about it. Itianyun sat down and started to check the good and evil point system. He saw that his good and evil points had already reached more than 12,000. He had killed so many strong people and got a lot of kill points. He had accumulated more than 12,000 kill points. This meant that he could draw the lottery once. The reward of 10,000 kill points would be even more amazing. However, it was a bit of a loss to use it to find people. But now that things had come to this, he couldn't care less. The Death Clan would be his subordinate force in the future. It was necessary to make them whole again. If he helped them find them, he would be able to win more favorability points. People looked at each other. They didn't know what Lee Tianyun wanted to do. Why did he suddenly sit down and say he needed to think about it? Didn't he know the situation was urgent and they needed to act quickly? Everyone looked at Kong Yeyue. Kong Yeyue shook her head. She didn't want to move and just listen to Lee Tianyun. Their cultivations weren't high. They were all star venerables. If they moved carelessly, they would be caught together. So, they had to rely on Lee Tianyun for the time being. Lee Tianyun started the lottery. After activating the lucky aura, he started the lottery immediately. Ding! Are you sure you want to use 10,000 good and evil points to activate the second level of the lottery? The system's voice asked. Yes. Lee Tianyun confirmed in his heart. Ding! 10,000 good and evil points are deducted. Lottery starts. With a pleasant sound, it started to flicker quickly. After flickering many times, the light finally dissipated. Then something popped out and appeared in front of Lee Tianyun. It was a divine skill. It's a divine skill. Lee Tianyun's eyes lit up. As long as it was a divine skill, it couldn't be bad. Shortly after, he opened the treasure, and a line of words entered his eyes, causing him to be slightly stunned. Super Appraisal Eye. Super Appraisal Eye. It can greatly strengthen the Appraisal Eye's effect. It can also find people. No matter how far they are, as long as you provide a name or blood, you can easily find their location. It can ignore all restrictions. At the same time, it can find spiritual herbs and materials. You can find their location by providing a name. Not bad. Chapter 2181. The function of the Super Appraisal Eye had undoubtedly strengthened his appraisal eye. Not only could he find people, he could also find materials. This made him very satisfied. It seemed that the lottery this time was not a waste. At least, apart from finding people, he could also find materials and elixirs. If it was just to find people, it would be a waste. All along, he had not been looking for many people. It was always others who came to him. It was naturally a waste to list out one function. All right. Lee Tianyun stood up under the puzzled gaze of the crowd. He looked around and smiled. We can start looking for people now. May I know the name of your princess? What's the name of our princess? Hong Yuan and the rest were startled. They did not know why Lee Tianyun suddenly asked this question. What was the meaning of this? My sister is Kong Xingming. Kong Yeyue interrupted. Kong Xingming. Very good. After Lee Tianyun said this, he raised his head slightly. His eyes started to emit a faint light. Very quickly, rays of light appeared in the distance. The people around him could not see these rays of light. Only Lee Tianyun could see them. Those balls of light were not anything. Rather, they were all people by the name of Kong Xingming. In this world, there were so many living beings. There were trillions of them, so many that it was impossible to count them all. Therefore, no matter what name they had, they were all overused. Even if it was Lee Tianyun, it was unknown how many millions of people had used it. Similarly, this name would also be used by others. Let's start with this. Lee Tianyun's gaze focused on one of the rays of light. His pupils shrank slightly. Immediately, the scene around the ray of light appeared in his mind. It was an ordinary woman picking elixirs. He could clearly see the situation around him in a small circle, but it could not cover a large area. This ability made Lee Tianyun very surprised. With just a slight glance, he could easily see the situation around him. Perhaps the range of coverage was not very wide, but at least he knew the situation around him. This was equivalent to having an additional ability to scout the enemy. Not only did he know where the enemy was, but he also knew who or what was around the enemy. He thought it was just a simple guide, but now it seemed that this ability was really powerful. Definitely not Kong Xingming from the Death Clan. Yi Tianyun immediately concluded that it wasn't her. Not to mention her looks, just based on her actions, it was obvious that she wasn't Kong Xingming. Kong Xingming must have been caught. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for her to harvest the elixirs. Moreover, it was impossible for his cultivation to be so low that Yi Tianyun could eliminate him in an instant. Then he looked at the next one. The next one was called Kong Xingming, but it was a guy. Eliminated. If all the men were princesses, it would be really scary. Yi Tianyun searched and eliminated them one by one. Finally, he found something different in one of the balls of light. In this area, there was a person who looked similar to Kong Yue. She was trapped in a cage of light. This woman's eyes were filled with indifference. She looked outside the cage coldly and opened her mouth to say something. Without a doubt, she was the real Kong Xingming. Whether it was in terms of appearance, cultivation, or bloodline, she was definitely Kong Xingming. Yi Tianyun could detect the situation over there, but he couldn't hear what they were talking about. He didn't have such an ability for now. Yi Tianyun checked the surroundings and found that there was a sturdy cage around him. There were also 3 cultivators talking to Kong Xingming. Although he couldn't hear what they were saying, they looked very ferocious and seemed to be forcing her to do something. That's her. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He finally found the area where Kong Xingming was. What's going on? When they saw Yi Tianyun stand up suddenly, they felt a little strange. He had just sat down for a short while, but he suddenly stood up as though he had discovered something. I roughly know the location of your princess. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. What? They were all shocked. He could know the location just by sitting down and meditating? What was the principle behind this? They didn't see what Dharma treasure Yi Tianyun used, and he didn't carve a big array on the ground. He just sat down and he could sense the location. Could it be the legendary super spiritual force search? Even if one had an extremely strong spiritual force, he could clearly detect every corner along the way. However, this was only the legendary super spiritual force, which was treated as a joke by others. No one's spiritual force would be strong enough to cover every area, let alone penetrate every area. However, Yi Tianyun suddenly said that he had found it. Could it really be the super spiritual force? Which one of you wants to go with me? The rest of you can just stay here. This place is relatively safe. Yi Tianyun didn't bring everyone. He only brought 1 or 2 people with him, so that he could communicate with Kong Xingming. I will go, Kong Yue stood up and said. All right, you will go with me. Yi Tianyun nodded and said, you can stay here temporarily and wait for us to come back. Benefactor, can't we go together? Hong Yuan also wanted to go. He was also worried about the princess's situation. The area I am going to is more dangerous. If I bring too many people there, it won't be very convenient. If there is danger, I believe you know what will happen. Yi Tianyun reached out and patted Hong Yuan's shoulder. He smiled and said, stay here. Hong Yuan wanted to say something but stopped. He could only watch them leave. After Yi Tianyun left, everyone started to discuss how Yi Tianyun found the princess. However, they didn't think that it was a lie. After all, he had saved so many of them. What was the point of lying to them? On the way, Kong Yue didn't say anything. She didn't ask Yi Tianyun how he knew. She just stayed silent. Aren't you going to ask me how I know? Yi Tianyun looked at Kong Yue and asked. No need. Since I trust you, I will choose to believe whatever you say. I only want the result. The process doesn't matter. Kong Yue smiled and said, you can say that I am being too casual. However, the Death Clan, once we have identified someone, we will not have any doubts. But in this case, aren't you being plotted against? Yi Tianyun said. Yes, but we will still choose to do this. Mutual trust is a truly worthy partner, and I think you're very trustworthy. Kong Yue didn't distrust Yi Tianyun. She didn't trust him before, but after a series of events, she completely trusted Yi Tianyun. Chapter 2182. Hearing Kong Yue's words, Yi Tianyun had a better impression of the Death Clan. Just based on their way of thinking, they were truly trustworthy companions. No wonder they could become the five-colored Emperor Dragon's divine general. With such quality, they were a level higher than most cultivators. Since you trust me so much, I won't let you down. Yi Tianyun smiled and kept Kong Yue in his spatial pocket. I will find your sister soon. Just wait patiently. Immediately, he flew at full speed toward the force that imprisoned Kong Xingming. As time passed, the light in front of him became brighter and brighter, indicating that he was getting closer to his target. After passing through a region, he came to a vast area. Looking ahead, he saw a huge city with many giant beasts patrolling in the sky. Above the giant beasts, there were guards stationed. Just the guards alone were far more than the other forces. When he saw clearly whose force it was, Yi Tianyun was startled. He immediately shook his head and smiled. What a coincidence! I didn't expect it to be so coincidental. The force in front of him was the Tian family. It was the family of Tian Yuan and Tian Xinhuan. He originally thought that he wouldn't have any interaction with the Tian family, but now, Kong Xingming was in the Tian family. If it was the Lu family, then there was no need to mention it. Of course, it was impossible for the Lu family to exist. After all, Kong Yue was rescued from the Lu family. Now it was the Tian family. The Tian family didn't have any enmity with him except for Tian Yuan and the others. Although he had some relationship with Tian Yuan, it didn't seem like Tian Yuan had any enmity with the Tian family. If there was any enmity, Tian Kuangyue did have some enmity with Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun had helped Tian Yuan, so Tian Kuangyue must have hated him to death. If he were to be seen, Tian Kuangyue would definitely be furious. If it wasn't for Yi Tianyun, how could Tian Yuan and the others escape? The Tian family, since things have reached this stage, I can only sneak in. Yi Tianyun didn't wish to have any conflict with the Tian family. Compared to the Lu family, the Tian family's strength can only be stronger. In his current state, he might not be able to win if he charged in. Thus, the best way was to sneak in. This was the best way. After looking around, he quietly slipped in from the side. However, just as he approached, he stopped. In front of him was an invisible energy wall. This was not a formation but a verbal compliance law executed by the Tian clan's Grand Star Venerate. This meant that if he wanted to enter, he would definitely be sensed by the verbal compliance law. Verbal compliance law was much easier to use than formations. The price one had to pay for it was also much lower. Now, it would be a little more difficult to sneak in. I thought I could sneak in, but now it looks like I'll have to go through the main entrance. Yi Tianyun had only sensed it when he got close to the door. The only thing he could do now was to turn around and go through the main entrance. As soon as he arrived at the main entrance, he was stopped by the guards. Who are you? The guards sized up Yi Tianyun with a stern expression. The guard riding on the giant beast also looked over. As long as Yi Tianyun tried to barge in, he would be killed without mercy. I'm here to visit the Tian clan. I have something to discuss with you, Yi Tianyun said calmly. Didn't you hear me clearly? Report your identity first. We don't even know who you are. How can we report you? Go and report. Yi Tianyun snorted in the guard's direction. The pressure of a Grand Star Venerate immediately surged over, forcing the guard to take several steps back and almost fall to the ground. Lord Grand Star Venerate. The guard was frightened. He was just a Star Venerate. If Yi Tianyun had not held back his power, this guard would have vomited blood. If it were a Star Venerate, he might not be a match for him, but he would not be so frightened. After all, a Star Venerate was not a powerhouse here. Only a Grand Star Venerate was a true powerhouse. If a Star Venerate showed his cultivation slightly, he could make the other side compromise quickly. He did not need to report his faction. His cultivation alone was enough for the guards to worship him and treat him as a distinguished guest. If a Star Venerate did this, he would probably be regarded as a troublemaker. Please wait for a moment. We will go and report. The guard went to report right away. He could communicate with the internal department through the communication jade token. After a short while, The guard came back. He said respectfully, "Sir, I have reported. I will take you in now." This was the difference between having power and not having power. If he had power, even if he was slapped, he would have to be respectful. Lee Tianyun nodded and asked him to lead the way. The guard led them to the Tian clan's palace. Honored guests would be brought to this palace first. On the way, Lee Tianyun quickly marked the place with a super teleportation divine stone. It did not cost a super teleportation divine stone to mark the place. He did it casually. That was why he marked the place along the way. In this way, he would have more choices when he came in. He had come in so boldly because he wanted to mark the place. Ordinary teleportation divine stones could not bring him in, but a super teleportation divine stone could. He was taken into the palace quickly. After a short while, a star venerable came over to receive him. "Sir, why have you come here? The elders have something to do, so they can't come out to receive you. You can tell me about it, and I will prepare it for you." The star venerable was also very respectful. He did not know why Yi Tianyun had come here, but since a great star venerable had come here, something big must have happened. "What's the matter?" Yi Tianyun squinted. It was obvious that he was talking with Kong Xingming. That was why he did not have time to come here. "Yes. It's something urgent. But I can decide many things. You can come to me." The star venerable in front of him was quite young. Apparently, he was a genius of the younger generation. His name was Tian Mulong. "Actually, it's nothing important. I heard you captured a member of the Death Clan. Can I see him?" Yi Tianyun asked directly. It was simple and rude. "How did you know?" Tian Mulong blurted out in shock. "It seems I guessed right. You really captured a member of the Death Clan," Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. Tian Mulong's face darkened. He did not expect he had spilled the beans. "Don't be so nervous. The Tian clan is so powerful. I can't do it by force, can I? I came here this time to negotiate with you. I can pay you a high price to ask for your help. As for the details, I think it's better to let your elders discuss it. I don't think you can make the decision." Chapter 2183. Since Yi Tianyun had said so, he was not afraid of being hunted down by the Tian family. If he had been a star venerable, he would have been killed immediately. However, he was a grand star venerable. He was qualified to negotiate. If his cultivation was too low, he would not have been qualified to negotiate. He would have been tortured. If his cultivation was too low, Yi Tianyun would have used some other excuse to sneak in. He would not have said it so simply and crudely. If he wanted to sneak in, he would have to use many tricks. He chose the simplest and crudely. The Liu family was weaker than the Tian family. There were traps outside, as well as all kinds of great formations. Even if Yi Tianyun could be transported outside, he would have to force his way in. That was the princess of the Death Clan. How could they not strengthen their guard? Therefore, this was not an idiot's way. It was the most feasible way. If there was no other way, he could only be transported outside and sneak in. Tian Mulong looked at Yi Tianyun in silence for a while. Then he nodded and said, "Wait here for a moment. I will go and ask." Tian Mulong did not know how Yi Tianyun got the news, but he could only go and inform him in the current situation. This kind of matter was indeed not something that he could make the decision on. Tian Mulong hurried out to inform him. He left Yi Tianyun to wait in the palace. He asked other attendants to come and serve him good tea. Soon, an old man walked in. Tian Mulong was very respectful behind him. Obviously, the person who could make the decision had come. The old man was a grand star venerable in the middle stage. He was powerful indeed. However, he was nothing in front of Yi Tianyun. "My friend, can you tell me where you got the news?" Tian Xingfeng's eyes were like torches, as if he wanted to see through Yi Tianyun's thoughts. What he wanted to know first was this matter, not who Yi Tianyun was, or what price Yi Tianyun had to pay. "It seems that you are still very concerned about this matter." Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. "Yes, we did it very discreetly. We thought that there were no other cultivators around. Even if there were, they would have disappeared completely." Tian Xingfeng's eyes were filled with killing intent. They didn't want other powers to know that they had the Death Clan. In fact, it wasn't just to prevent other forces from robbing them. More importantly, it was to prevent the Death Clan from discovering them. They didn't know if the experts of the Death Clan would come to rescue them. In any case, being cautious was always a good thing. Therefore, when they caught Kong Xingming, they killed all the cultivators around them. No matter what forces were behind them, they killed all of them. Now, Tian Xingfeng was thinking, did someone spread the news at that time? However, they immediately executed the verbal compliance law. Even if they had a message token, they would not be able to send the message out. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. You don't need to know where I got this information from. I just want to tell you that I don't know much. Yi Tianyun looked at Tian Xingfeng and said with a smile, I wonder what you're thinking now. Are you going to kill me? Tian Xingfeng stared at him for a while and said indifferently, if your cultivation was lower, I would really kill you. It seems that the news was leaked. But it's all right, it's within my expectations. Tian Xingfeng was quite straightforward. He had the same thought, but Yi Tianyun's cultivation was not low. It seems that you've accepted my request? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes slightly. No, I didn't say that. I just came out to meet you. There are many clansmen of the Death Clan scattered outside. You can go out and try your luck. Your request is to resurrect your own people. The other Death Clan members can do the same. After Tian Xingfeng rejected, he added, I can provide you with a way to capture them. It's to use light attribute treasures. This way, it'll be much easier to search. It's not the same. The ones you've captured are different from the Death Clan outside. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, there are some things that I don't need to be too straightforward. Since I've come to find you, I know that the ones you've captured are different. What you can provide me is different. As soon as he finished speaking, a murderous intent surged towards him. Tianyun just smiled and didn't care about the murderous intent at all. It seems that you know a lot. Tian Xingfeng stared at Yi Tianyun. His murderous intent gradually calmed down and he didn't deny anything. Since he said so, it meant that he came prepared. Then, there was no need for him to hide anything. I know a little more. You don't need to be too hostile towards me. As long as my conditions are met, I can guarantee that no one else will know about the situation here. Yi Tianyun said confidently. He didn't lie. He was the only one who knew. Tian Xingfeng looked at him for a while and said, Tell me, what do you want to do? Obviously, he had compromised. Let's meet first. I want to see the princess of the Death Clan. I want to see what's going on. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and said, I wonder if this is enough to satisfy me? Sure. Follow me. Tian Xingfeng didn't waste any more time. He turned around and walked outside. Yi Tianyun quickly followed. Tian Mulong could only stay here. What happened next was not something he could manage. Tian Xingfeng didn't want to talk to him. If he could, he wanted to kill Yi Tianyun directly. Under the guidance of Tian Xingfeng, they quickly came to a tunnel that led underground. This was not surprising. Normally, treasuries or important people would be locked underground. This way, it would be more secretive. In the outside world, it wouldn't be easy to find out. Not long after, they came to a door. After Tian Xingfeng made a few hand signs, the door opened slowly. He led Yi Tianyun inside. Yi Tianyun was so calm because he saw that Kong Xingming was inside. He didn't want to take him to another area. After walking around, they finally came to a door. He pushed it open and took him in. What came into view was a huge cage with 2 grand star venerables at its sides. When they came in, the conversation stopped abruptly and everyone looked in their direction. Yi Tianyun didn't care about their gazes. He looked up at Kong Xingming. Kong Xingming was sitting in the center of the cage with a calm face. She didn't panic because she was caught. She didn't beg for mercy. She just sat there quietly. It's sister. Kong Yeyue was pleasantly surprised in the space inside Yi Tianyun's body. She didn't expect to find her. Chapter 2184. Kong Yeyue was very happy to see her sister. Yi Tianyun did not feel anything. He knew that Kong Xingming was here, so he would not be excited. Everything was within his expectations. It proved that the effect of the super appraisal eye was unparalleled. When Kong Xingming saw Yi Tianyun come in, she did not feel anything. In her opinion, he was on the same side as the Tian family. Why did you bring him in? Tian Yueming's eyes turned cold. He had not expected Tian Shengfeng to bring Yi Tianyun in. Yi Tianyun looked in the direction of the voice and found Tian Yueming to be very familiar. If he looked carefully, he did look a bit similar to Tian Xinghuan and Tian Yuan. To be more precise, Tian Yuan looked more similar to him. He immediately determined that Tian Yueming was Tian Yuan and Tian Xinghuan's father. He had a high position here and was a late-stage star venerable. It was indeed a shocking cultivation. No wonder both of his children were great star venerables. He knows that we caught the princess, Tian Shengfeng said honestly. What? On the side, Tian Qingxue was shocked, and her reaction was even more intense than theirs. That's impossible. Back then, I killed everyone, not leaving a single one alive. No one was able to send a message out. As a female cultivator, Qingxue was also very ruthless. He did not expect that the one who caught Kong Xingming would be Qingxue. Yi Tianyun thought it was Tian Yueming and the others who caught the princess. It turned out that it was Qingxue who caught the princess. However, no matter who caught the princess, it was the Tian family. But he already said that we captured the princess. How could he be wrong? Tian Shengfeng said calmly, obviously, there was a fish that escaped the net. It's that simple. Tian Shengfeng slapped the door behind him. With a loud bang, the door behind him was shut. What? You want to fight? Yi Tianyun looked at Tian Shengfeng's angry expression, but he still had a calm expression. There was nothing that could make him feel afraid. Even though there were 3 Grand Star Venerables here, there was nothing to be afraid of. If I wanted to fight, I would have done it a long time ago. Why would I bring you here? Tian Shengfeng snorted coldly, feeling extremely displeased. Yi Tianyun was not just a Grand Star Venerable. They were more concerned about the faction behind him. A force with a Grand Star Venerate was certainly not simple. The fact that Yi Tianyun could come here openly meant that he was prepared. Perhaps that faction knew that Yi Tianyun was coming. If Yi Tianyun didn't return, the result would be obvious. At this critical juncture, no one wanted to make any mistakes. The Violet Gold Divine Pavilion was about to open. If something big were to happen now, the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion might not be able to enter and the losses would be even greater. Looks like you're still quite rational. Yi Tianyun shrugged. The other 2 elders looked gloomy. They had also thought a lot. In the end, they could only choose to compromise. Alright, don't be so long-winded. The princess is here. You can look around. She was just captured by us and didn't do many things well. What can you get from her? What can you make her do? Tian Shengfeng said in a deep voice, I'll give you some time. Do whatever you want to do. Don't forget what you said. They had just been captured and didn't know many things. They couldn't make Kong Xingming do anything. They could only stare at her and couldn't do anything else. Alright, I'll start now. Yi Tianyun took a step forward. Looking at Kong Xingming, he said, What's the situation with the Death Clan? Kong Xingming glanced at him indifferently. She didn't answer. She remained silent. Don't be silly. You won't get anything out of her. We've been asking her for a long time. She doesn't even know how to answer. Tian Shengfeng said sarcastically, You can't go back on your word. We've given you a chance. It's up to you to take it. What price do I have to pay in exchange for her? Yi Tianyun asked. What do you want to pay for her? Tian Shengfeng was struck dumb. Then he said with a cold smile, You want to pay for her? No problem. Give me several star venerable level treasures, several batches of divine herbs, and 1 or 2 members of the Death Clan. We'll pay for her right away. Can I understand that you're demanding an exorbitant price? Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. Star venerable level treasures were extremely rare. Even on the vast red moon planet, there weren't many of them. Now he was asking for several of them. How could he not be demanding an exorbitant price? You said you wanted to pay for her. This is the price. She's a princess, not an ordinary member of the Death Clan. If you can get her with an ordinary price, give her to me, and I'll pay for her. Tian Shengfeng wore a sarcastic look on his face. It was obvious that he wanted to humiliate him. He wouldn't attack Yi Tianyun, but it wouldn't be a problem for him to humiliate him. He didn't believe Yi Tianyun would start a family war because of this. It seems we can't make a deal. So, forget it, Tianyun said calmly. I'll just ask you a few questions. I won't say anything else. Fine. Don't ask me a few questions. You can ask me dozens of questions. I'm curious to see what you can do. Tian Shengfeng crossed his arms, as if he was waiting for a good show. Tian Yueming and the others didn't say anything. They just watched from the side. Your younger sister is in my hands, Tianyun suddenly said. Kong Xingming's calm expression finally changed a little. She stared at Tianyun and said, I advise you not to act recklessly. Anger and murderous intent filled the depths of her eyes. The dark energy in her body surged. However, it was firmly sealed by the cage, and the energy couldn't spread out. It had to be said that she was quite powerful. She was a early-stage star venerable, much stronger than Kong Yue. However, she was still captured despite her cultivation. She was in a bad state. She was obviously injured. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been captured so easily. Everyone was attracted by Yi Tianyun's words. Capturing Kong Xingming's younger sister was not a simple matter. Great. You captured the younger sister of a princess, and now you're targeting us? Tian Shengfeng was getting more and more annoyed. He had the Death Clan, yet he still came here to mess around. Actually, I lied to her. I didn't capture her younger sister at all. Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders. Didn't you say that I couldn't get anything out of her? Now I get it out of her. She has a younger sister. Tian Shengfeng was so frustrated that he wanted to vomit blood. It seemed that it was true. Kong Xingming stared at him for a while, then fell silent again. She didn't move. She hoped that Yi Tianyun was really lying to her. Looks like I can't get anything out of her. I'll leave now. Yi Tianyun quickly set up the teleportation sign and got ready to leave. Chapter 2185. If Yi Tianyun wanted to leave, they would come to stop him. Yi Tianyun's face is indifferent. This situation is not unexpected, and he doesn't panic. Everything was within his expectations. Even if they attacked immediately, he wouldn't be surprised at all. What? Do you want to silence us? Yi Tianyun asked calmly. I wouldn't go so far as to silence you. However, our Tian family is not a place where you can come and go as you please. We allowed you to come in and take a look. If you leave just like that, wouldn't our Tian family suffer a great loss? Tian Yueming said calmly, our Tian family might not be the top 3 in Scarlet Moon Star, but it is definitely in the top 5. What do you want to do then? Yi Tianyun asked. It's simple. We will form an alliance. We don't know what force you are from, but I don't think it will be too weak. Tian Yueming suggested, I believe you know that the Purple Gold Divinity Pavilion is about to appear. How about we join forces when the time comes? Tian Yueming started to rope in Yi Tianyun. He seemed to have thought of something and decided to join forces with Yi Tianyun. He did not have a good impression of Yi Tianyun at first. However, he had probably thought of something during the process and decided to join forces with Yi Tianyun. In other words, you want to use the alliance as the price? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes at him. No, to be precise, this is something I came up with on the spur of the moment. Our Tian family is not weak. Do you think we will mistreat you if you form an alliance with us? Tian Yueming said, I only wish for our 2 clans to obtain more benefits from the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. What about the Lu family? Yi Tianyun asked. The Lu family? Tian Yueming smiled faintly. Of course, the Lu family will also participate. If the 3 families act together, I believe that we will be able to take a large portion of the treasures that appear in the Purple Gold Divinity Pavilion. Towards the end, his eyes shone brightly. That kind of strong possessiveness and confidence really made people feel a great shock. After all, the Tian family's forces were not bad. If they teamed up, it would be a win-win situation. Of course, This was under the premise that he would not be stabbed. What if I refuse? Lee Tianyun smiled. If you refuse, we won't force you. Hand over a galaxy-grade treasure, and you can leave. Tian Yueming's attitude gradually turned cold. That's not a high request, is it? At least we let you in, and in our secret room. To let you leave so casually, isn't that not taking our Tian family seriously? Tian Yueming's request wasn't excessive, but it wasn't kind either. But what if I were to say that I'm alone, without any backing? Lee Tianyun said indifferently. Lee Tianyun's words startled them. They really hadn't thought about this problem. Could an independent cultivator outside cultivate to the level of a Grand Star Venerable? They did not believe this. If he wanted to break through to the Grand Star Venerable realm, talent alone was not enough. He needed a huge amount of resources. Otherwise, he would not be able to improve. They all knew this. Only by using all kinds of divine medicines could he improve his cultivation. Otherwise, how could he improve? For the first time, they felt that Lee Tianyun was lying to them. Friend, it's meaningless to say this. We don't believe you don't have any backing, Tian Yueming said, shaking his head. In fact, it was true that Lee Tianyun was strong. However, compared to the Tian family, he was much weaker. They could not be compared at all. In such a situation, even if he cooperated sincerely, he would not be able to go against the upper echelons. I do have a backing, but it's too weak. I built it all by myself. In such a situation, it's no different from saying that I'm alone. Lee Tianyun was not lying. They looked at Lee Tianyun. They believed him, but they did not believe that Lee Tianyun did not have any powerful support. It was not uncommon for some clans' experts to go out and establish their own sections. Seeing their doubtful expressions, Lee Tianyun said with a smile, "If you don't mind, I plan to join you. I wonder if you will agree?" Since the other party had invited him, he decided to agree. He was very willing to have someone open a path for him, especially with a great clan's help. Why wouldn't he reap the benefits? However, the situation was not that simple. If he schemed against the Tian family, wouldn't the Tian family schemed against him too? In the end, they were just using each other. Tian Yueming looked at him for a while and suddenly laughed. Since you said so, let's cooperate. You are a Grand Star Venerable. You are so strong. It's a good choice to recruit you as an ally. Let's have a pleasant cooperation, Lee Tianyun said with a faint smile. Let's have a pleasant cooperation. Is there anything else you want to ask her? Tian Yueming's attitude became cordial. Not yet. Lee Tianyun didn't want to ask anything. He had just come to mark the teleportation point. Then please go upstairs. Our Tian family will treat you well. If you have any more questions, you can come down at any time, Tian Yueming said with a smile. I won't stand on ceremony. Lee Tianyun smiled. Then he ordered someone to take him upstairs. The three of them didn't leave. Second elder, what do you mean? Tian Shengfeng and the others were dumbfounded. They didn't know what Tian Yueming meant. Nothing. Isn't it a good thing to recruit cannon fodder? Tian Yueming said calmly, you know the situation of the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. It's a good choice to send a Grand Star Venerable to die. Our Tian family isn't a place that can be entered easily. We can't be threatened. Towards the end, Tian Yueming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Send someone to investigate his identity. Investigate his identity thoroughly. Okay. The two of them understood immediately. No wonder Tian Yueming changed his mind. It turned out that he was thinking about the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. It was a good thing to have a Grand Star Venerable to help them. Especially a Grand Star Venerable. It would be easier to make use of him. While they were making plans, Lee Tianyun was also making plans after going upstairs. This way, saving Kong Xingming would be much easier. He just had to stay here, and after he rescued Kong Xingming, no one would suspect him. You want to make use of me? I don't know who is making use of who. Lee Tianyun's eyes flashed. He knew what Tian Yueming was thinking. They were just making use of each other. It all depended on who made use of the other first. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.